All right, we are going together the HDC meeting for the 2nd of January, 4:30 p.m. And the people that are here are Abby, Jesse, Val, me, Steve, John McLaughlin. Ray is still away on vacation, and we believe that TJ is too also. We will have somebody approve the agenda to begin.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Are you going to recuse on the agenda?
No.
No. Okay, that's a full amount. Then we have a public comment which has to do with something that is not on the agenda. If anybody has anything to say? Hearing nothing, we will continue. The next thing is consent, which is Todd Stouts, Rugged Scott, Robin Beatty, Steve Jameson, Grayson Keller, Mike Mahoney, and Tim Fallon. Has anybody got any problem, or shall we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Alrighty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
I'm abstaining.
And one abstention. So we next go on to old business. And I haven't seen Mark come in.
Yes, he is.
Oh, good.
Ready and rolling. Happy New Year.
You're number 1 for 2018.
That's pretty cool.
Blanket approval
He's like the New Year
for the next 5 minutes.
Yes. So, what you got to say there, Mark?
You're withdrawing all the
We're looking at York Street first,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
This application, oh, I'm sorry.
Alrighty. So, you begin, Mark.
Mark Forth, the applicant. The last time we were before you was last year. And you had asked us to look at a couple of different things. One was a couple of fenestration changes, wherein on the front of the new addition, we had originally, as you can see, 2 windows and a pair of doors. We've removed some of the fenestration to simplify it, which makes it look more like what's already there. In addition to that, I think your major concern was you asked us to rethink the form so that we would lower the ridge line of the new mass so it was distinctively lower than the main mass of the house, which we performed in this iteration. And other than that, I think that was pretty much the 2 main concerns that you had. One window change, the front facade of the new form, and the lowering of the ridge line of the new form.
Mark, what is the age of this house?
That's on my application historic study. We're not doing much to the front. We're not doing anything to the front facade of the new house. It's already been renovated. The dormer that was installed in the front is not original to the house. There was a lot of work that was done, I believe, back in, I want to say in the 90s. It went through a number of hands, including Carl Jellamy and Boynton and someone else at that point in time where they did some renovations. But the house is, did I give you a historic report?
Yeah, it's circa 1796. Here's the.
This is the oldest house on York Street, right there, isn't it? And it's always a surprise that it is that old.
Yes.
It's always had those French doors though, on the wings.
Well, and he's just connecting the.
Right. No, I just think we should record it somewhere.
1840 sounds more like it.
Oh, really?
But Sorry, that's it. So the French doors already existed on either side on the front?
That's,
side?
yes,
Yeah.
we're not doing anything on the left-hand side, the other side,
It's just the lowering of the thing and the. And
lowering of the ridge and one window change on the mudroom entryway and the removal of 2 windows.
I'm okay with it, Diane. I think it looks good, Mark.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve as submitted. Johnny, have you got something?
No comment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, the next one, is our little thing
Back
out
to
at.
Tuckernuck.
Back to Tuckernuck,
I can't
back
wait
on the
to
roof.
see what happens.
Now, this is the first application before you for the new year on Tuckernuck. I think an approval is in order.
You're working that. Go for
Hey,
it.
it's the only chance I get,
Go for
right?
it. Yeah.
Right?
Can't fault you for trying.
I think I might have missed one of these. I mean, seriously, I think I did.
I-
I don't know if I'm on it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. It was on there.
We'll soon find out.
Just thick application
No
for
kidding.
solar panels.
Solar panels, right?
This is Coombs, McLaughlin, Camp, Oliver, Dutra.
It's all you, big guy.
Mark
All right.
4 for the applicant. The revisions that are here before you are in response to our last discussion. And that, the discussion was on 2 fronts. Whether it was more appropriate to do a field array assembly on the ground,
You got something
which
to
meant
say?
consuming more footprint.
Mark, hold on just a second.
Okay.
If you guys have got something to say that's not on the table, go outside, because the thing is hard to pick up for Terry, okay? Thank you. Okay, Mark,
So the revisions before you are in response to the conversation that we had at the table that didn't really net a singular direction for the project. There were members of the commission that felt that installing the array on the roof was an appropriate way to go because that meant that there was less structure being imposed on the ground in terms of building the garage with a footprint and building a solar array with a footprint. One concern that was mentioned by one of the Tuckernuck people was while out hunting. Well, we can't help it if a stray bullet or somebody drops a clamshell on it, a seagull or not. So I'm really going to try and discount a comment of that nature. So what we did was we took 2 things into account. One, you had said if it were to be a roof array, then it should be on a black roof, which we have changed the application to a black roof, and that the roof itself should be a simple form. In other words, not interrupted by the dormer.
right.
So we swapped the dormer over to the south side of the building to match the one that was already on the south side of the building. We eliminated the redundant skylight and we left a simple roof plane exposed for the solar array on the north facade of the garage. We thought that that was an approach that was very valid to show you as a response to everything that went on at the meeting and the fact that we couldn't come to a conclusion of either a ground array or a roof array. And so we're back here with what we thought was an appropriate response to your comment.
I didn't know that we had this, but we do have an email from Sue Robinson, from Tuckernuck, and it says, I still think the building should be turned 90 degrees so the gable end is facing south. It would show less mass. And she doesn't like 2 dormers, which are the dormers, I guess you're talking about being on the south side now, right?
Right. They're appropriate in size, and we're reacting to the fact that if we were going to get solar panels on the roof, it needed to be an uninterrupted roof plane. be able to make it more plausible.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but in putting them on the north side, which is the
Yep.
ocean, so the Nantucket Harbor side, you're less
Less
of a-
impactful from views from the majority of the homes that are on the southern side of the property.
Are you using a whole bunch of solar power by putting them on that north elevation?
We obviously will not be as efficient as we would be if the panels were on the southern facade of the building. That there is no doubt in my mind that is the case, but the idea was to keep them as concealed as possible in their application from the major vantage points of the other houses that would be seen from the landing area and in front of it.
Yeah, there are a lot of roads that kind of converge.
A lot
sort
of roadways in
south.
front, so
But what
my
is her
sense at the end
idea?
of the day, on a black roof, that you probably won't even see these.
Well, especially with that dormer coming up and lifting it a little bit more.
Right, I wondered why she wanted the building turned 90 degrees.
I don't know, because we have the building approved already, so
Right.
we're simply coming back here for an amendment.
I appreciate the changes, Mark. I think you've answered the concerns that we had. I would vote yes for that.
And I think that perhaps we have to look at the solar machinery as being necessary in some places, and so therefore, it's not exactly like having it downtown where you can have 50 watts of electricity. This is,
Right. We have really a choice of a wind turbine or some solar applications in response to what they typically do is a generator in concert with either one of those.
right.
The wind turbine, too.
And the other thing, per Ray's comment last time, the ground array does make sense on a lot of occasions, but because you have so many houses out here that will probably go to solar as well, that's adding a whole other footprint to the whole.
And I'd rather have solar out
Might as
there
well.
than a bunch of windmills.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So-
don't
I think
wouldn't
it's
mind
the
a windmill
appropriate
or two.
Yeah, this
application.
is good.
Yep.
But the only thing I object to is the one on the dormer on the north,
I think
on the
he-
garage.
No, he's
that's a-
not going to
that's
use
a
that. He's going to
previously-
use the,
That's the previous
the
one.
upper
original.
one.
So this is what he's doing on the
Sorry.
north side, and that
Sorry.
was originally.
Nicely done.
So do we have a motion?
Aye.
Johnny, have you?
No comment.
No comment.
Motion to approve as submitted.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Appreciate it very much, thank you.
Go away now. Remember,
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Good way to start the year off.
Have a glass of wine. Have some music.
is Marty here?
Yeah, he's.
Marty's here.
Make a fire.
What was that last one?
No.
I heard.
Say it a little louder.
There we go.
Happy New Year, Marty.
Happy New Year, everyone.
I
All
missed
well
your open house. Somebody said they had a lot of fun at pumpkin fire.
At the
You
farm.
had it
I
open.
know, sorry.
I missed it too. That would have been fun.
Oh, I'm not on it.
I remember this property.
It's,
Christopher Clark.
Last time this was here was
some time ago, wasn't it?
Last year.
April
Spring.
18th.
You know, we're not going to say that joke every time.
Just once.
Everybody gets to say that once.
Everyone could say one.
All right, would you like to,
So the plan's very simple. The owners decided not to go ahead with any changes to the driveway at this time. And so the only changes that were actually not on the table much was the alteration of removing of a step in the terrace that was behind it. So, this terrace is still bluestone, it's the same. And that's it. This is actually just closing up old business.
okay. Does everybody see that, Johnny? Do you have anything to say?
No.
No. No. Abby?
I don't really like shell driveways in town. I think they're sort of more sconcy. I'd rather see some sort of brick stone
But
combination.
it's existing.
Oh, okay, screw that.
Go with a better catch. Go with that one.
And the hedge keeps you from seeing the patio, I'm assuming. Is that,
Yeah, you don't see much of this.
because I hate that new trend of like seeing everybody's business.
Oh.
Well, you.
No, I'm good, yeah.
It's
Feel
happened
it.
to me on my street. Everybody puts the patio out front, and I'm like,
Put-
hey,
Keep your business in the back.
yeah, please.
So, can I have a motion then?
Motion to approve.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right, let's keep it up.
Next is Luke.
Excuse me.
Happy New Year.
Happy.
This is 135, well, wait a minute, who is on this?
Mystery vehicle.
McLaughlin, Oliver, and Watterson. McLaughlin, Oliver.
There's only 3 on this one,
Just,
just so you know. Yep, 3 people.
So,
renovation. So, tell us what you,
what we did, based on the comments, let me just, well, on A2.1, this is the west elevation, which faces the harbor.
yeah,
We didn't make any changes. That was the one elevation that the owners were really hoping that you guys might give us some leeway with. So what we did was, and I want to show you, you went and did some additional things that you didn't ask us for that we thought would additionally benefit the structure in general on the opposite side. So if you were bounced to the next page, for example, the A2.2, we actually broke up, whereas before we had, if you look at the east elevation, whereas before we had a full broad upper dormer, we've now broken up into 3 dormers and incorporated the entire lower roof line and the upper roof line to break down the massing. And the owners were hoping that this would be viewed favorably, as much as to maybe not necessitate any changes on the west elevation. So we did that, and then on the north elevation, we made some minor changes. The left-hand roof we kind of brought up again, as you can see, so that it ties into the main roof. There was some comments about the fact that you guys like to see some atypical and sort of whimsical sort of moves in terms of the fenestration, which is similar, which is that way in that area. And so we're showing some smaller windows on the north elevation that functionally serve their locations as well. That's it.
on the
Oh,
east,
I'm sorry, we lowered the ridge too.
so you're at 24.3?
We lowered the ridge. You can see if you look at the existing proposed ridge.
Yeah.
It came down about, I think about a foot and a half, a couple of feet to maybe even 2 feet. And that upper proposed dormer, we increased the pitch on that too, so that there was less of a space between the top of the dormer and the ridge, which was of concern before.
Right. And on the east elevation, probably it's behind the chimney. You see the
Yeah.
chimney on the north elevation?
Oh, that's not shown. That should be shown.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
that's all right. Anybody, Abby,
I'm not on it, unfortunately. It
Oh,
looks
it's
very
just us
nice,
three.
though. Very nice.
Johnny,
Boy, you're starting the year off with no comment.
what about you?
Just your.
No, it's just
Just
you
us.
three. Yep.
I appreciate the changes that you made, especially with that dormer, the way you incorporated it. I think that's good.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say, and it's probably just your CAD system, is the windows on the north elevation proposed up on the second floor, they are too square.
I can make those longer.
I'm sure you can. Just either make them a little bigger, a little thinner.
Okay.
So, may I have a motion on this?
Motion to approve with the windows on the north gable having more vertical panes through staff.
All the north and the south?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That's everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Have a
New Year.
Hey, we may be running for. Is John Lampy here?
Yes, he is.
Good.
Ethan is not going to be here, so 15 is off.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Too bad for Ethan.
He's stuck off island.
Is he?
Probably was stuck off until the end of the
Boats are
summer.
running tomorrow, though.
No, fast boat.
No boats.
No, I mean slow boat.
Slow boat.
You can't get on it,
The noon.
even walking on it.
It's full. They had so many the other
I
night.
have a ticket.
Well, you better get down there early.
And I'll, stuff people in a car.
There you go. Right?
Yeah.
Charge extra for it.
Yeah. $25 a shot. Stay quiet in the back seat.
Welcome.
They had some guy put a thing on Facebook saying that anybody who would let him and his girl sit in their car because there weren't any seats anywhere else. There's what Johnny too stuff. All right. We're doing 704. Okay. What you got? Tell us.
Well, hopefully everyone got a chance to do a site visit. Anybody?
Yep.
So,
This is Coombs, McLaughlin, Camp, Oliver, and Dutra.
All right.
so I'm adding, there's an addition, the lower deck on the back of the house. That's the area that I would like to make an addition to, specifically to make it livable space instead of an outdoor deck. And in addition to that, I wanted, so I'm eliminating the lower deck, but I'm also expanding the upper deck by, I think it's 4 feet. And so,
Expanding it
On the
in
opposite
length.
side,
Yeah,
the,
towards,
the south deck.
Is that what you're just filling out?
Which elevation?
that would be the south, what I call the south, is probably the
It says
east,
east.
yeah, the east side. Yep. So the shaded, the clouding
Oh, I see.
indicates the extent of the area that I'm working, proposing.
So you're adding an addition and then making a deck off the addition.
No, the upper deck,
Yeah.
since it's very narrow, we can barely fit a table up there,
That little bit.
so we're bumping that out.
So by how
Proposing
much?
to bump it out. 4 feet,
And
so it'd be from 7 feet deep 11 feet.
Where is that?
I think it's here.
That's a second floor deck.
But, you know,
On the
John,
side though, which side, John? I don't,
It's on the east side.
the problem for me, I think, is that could I go, Diane?
You certainly can.
Right off the bat, it looks like, that it runs the whole length
Yeah.
visually, and that doesn't look that, it doesn't have that old character anymore.
Right.
Where before you had it just on the mast coming forward and then a little bit on the back.
In anticipation of that, I was thinking of proposing to eliminate the existing deck,
Yeah.
the little one.
on this, if you're looking at the east,
This
Yeah.
here,
So you have.
No, that's the decks, that's the
I'm
front.
really
Backside.
confused.
Yeah, yeah, that one there.
Eliminate that one. And so it would just be this length. We don't use that wall.
all right. Val, eliminate
So you would
this.
then put a window there or something?
Yeah, put a window.
But I
So-
don't think you can have a deck that's 11 feet sticking out.
Well, it's not-
There, 8 feet is as wide as we
So is it 7?
allow. 11 feet would be.
To eliminate.
Yeah, as a, yeah.
I know why I'm confused. Because isn't this north? Isn't this north?
It's east. Yeah,
But if you
that's,
look
well,
at the
you know,
locus,
it's, yeah.
When you're
It's actually
standing-
north, yeah.
yeah.
It's
Northeast.
northeast. I think I have it a little whacked out, but if you focus on the still dock side, that's
This
where all this
faces
action's happening. Nothing changes
North
up there.
wall.
Right.
Old North Wharf
So
side
this
or
would,
this side.
and this faces Stillbrook.
John,
I went up and down both.
so on the revisions on the east elevation as shown in your drawing, is in the picture you have a window right here, but in the drawing, it's like, is it just French doors and nothing to the left of the French doors?
That was changed somewhere along the line, but that's existing on the front of the house.
You
Yeah.
just didn't draw it in? No, this is I guess, east is
Yeah,
looking.
this is okay, this is backside.
Right, so this window here, is there a window there?
No.
Is this the same house?
Oh, there is one, son of a gun. Oh, yeah, don't have that in there.
So you're gonna keep the
Yeah, that would just stay.
This is gone.
Oh, good eye.
I was just thinking that might be a way you could
It's
break
sort
up.
of there, but it's,
Yeah.
No, it's my
what?
mistake.
I don't know what that is. That's something else. No. It might be the size. All right, so.
I'm confused on your picture here, that the front one, which shows all this stuff, where is this? Where is the staircase going up?
It's being eliminated.
It- Where?
This back wall here would come out to flush with this wall.
No, that one, this one.
So this is
And
existing,
then that would be, this would be taken off.
okay.
That's no.
This is existing,
This one.
but you got this up, like here, this goes up 2 steps.
And the patio in the back is up, two risers raised up, because this is kind of flat all the time.
Yes. Okay, so now,
So the way I have it depicted is,
this is the one that goes out onto Still Dock, right?
that's correct.
Yes. And this is the one that you want to,
Yeah, when I bring that back, I'm gonna take this one.
North
Depends on what you're-
faces North Wharf.
The water.
what is
and how deep is this now?
That's 7 feet from here back.
Okay.
What do you see from the water? What elevation?
What is labeled right now is west. Oh, no, east.
Northeast, the top right-hand one.
Okay.
Which is this.
Okay, so
think.
northeast is what we see from the water.
Yeah,
This is
this is the one you see from Still Dock.
okay.
And he's proposing to
This is
take
the old
the,
plan.
This is
No, I
Still
know.
Dock.
To me, this is north, because,
Yeah,
you
it's,
know,
you know,
He
it's
wants to
grounded
take
out.
this,
yeah. Facing
he
north.
wants to bring this wall
yeah,
down.
yeah,
This will all go away.
yeah, yeah.
This, he wants, this is the one, I believe he wants to go out
This
to 11
is
feet,
this.
and then he would be
Next
willing
that.
to take
Is
that
it
away.
11 feet or adding 4?
Well, it's 7
Yeah.
feet now,
Seven
7
feet.
and
Tell you
4.
what,
Oh, so it's 11 feet.
No.
Yeah, which to me is too
But
close.
it's offset by
This,
7 feet of
he
building.
wants to add here.
Right.
Okay. This one,
How deep is it, John?
This
On
one,
the,
he wants
where
to
you
add
proposed?
here.
How deep is that
Well,
as it comes
it's
out?
existing right
This
now
one.
is 7, and then if I added 4, it
Are
would be,
these.
No, I mean
total.
depth. Like
yeah,
this-
that's what I mean.
Okay.
This is this one,
It would be
So
a
I
total
think-
of 11.
and this is that one.
If you saw this, you would understand it, the floor
The only
plan.
question I have is what are these?
Yeah, if you look at the floor plan,
If you
it
make
makes
this
it
7,
more.
if you take,
This is existing, and then
All
he's gonna
down here.
add this
and
part.
this is the back, does this not make
This
I
is
know, but
existing,
John,
and he's gonna
John
add this
McLaughlin
part.
Yeah.
trying to tell you it can only be 8 feet deep.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have 4 more feet.
So what, was it go out, how far would it go to get to the, you know, the corner? Or that'd be beyond 11 feet?
Right now, it comes
Yes.
out to the 7-foot offset, so it doesn't extend
That's
out any
instead
further
of bubbles,
than the,
put lines where he.
So,
wing.
okay.
This would,
A lot of
If-
jogging
if
going
you-
on.
Well,
take-
and these aren't really what
if you
what
take
he's
this wall
doing.
out to here,
Yeah.
as you said, this is 7 feet deck up here.
That's
Then you
right.
would add 4 more feet, but it's a flat roof. It's a
Yes,
flat
and he's adding here.
deck the whole
It's
way.
a deck, that's right. Correct.
All right, here, so I can look at it on my phone.
No brackets underneath it, or how?
Well,
This, there's a deck here,
I
and he's
can,
gonna
it'll
add.
cantilever it
And
out.
this one,
How's it gonna hold itself up?
Well, if I do a cantilever, but I have posts.
this one is this one.
These posts?
He's gonna add here. Yeah, when you're looking at the old existing. You wrote south, I don't know.
Doesn't
This is all I have.
cottage
Oh.
in here.
That's,
And these are not,
they're all using different ones.
it doesn't.
I mean, the floor plan is showing this
Yeah.
meeting that night. Plus that,
comments.
this, I just want you guys to understand what he's talking about. This top one is the north elevation.
Yeah.
But all of this is
So
going
this
to
is
come
north.
11 feet.
Back from here.
Which
This
is
one's
that
only
plan
4
he
feet.
has.
Now, I can eliminate that.
Yeah,
Just
Is, looking out from
So-
Still Dock.
This is south.
you better go over and see Johnny, because he's gonna wanna know.
Okay, so I think part of the problem is because these are the old plans and they're not what's here.
Yeah, do you have the new ones? The proposed ones? What do you got, just old ones?
have all
Old
of-
ones that you've scratched on, right?
This is the new one here.
Yeah.
So for
See,
instance,
that's all, I see you guys are all looking at old.
This is your problem, not ours, John. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I
This
thought
is
they were all
a mess.
included here. I did burn them.
Well, too much
Here it is.
ink scratching, right?
Here it is, right here. This is what is,
Wait a minute, the photo denotes what it is. This says east. It's not. Now, what's the story?
okay, well, I changed it, it's northeast. So there's a
It's
drawing.
just gotta
we
be
haven't seen
redone,
yet.
and submitted. There's all the,
This is what you guys asked for, to show the existing, and you wanted the original, so
And then
that's
there's this
what was
one, and
included
then there's
here.
one he has.
You wanna do this? You wanna add that?
Pass the one.
No, this is
Maybe
what's
showing John.
existing right now. This was approved 8 years ago.
That's-
2017, December 14th?
No,
was because I included this because it was there, submitted, the old plans and the original.
Maybe we should.
We don't have the new plan.
This is
Yeah, we
unbelievable.
don't have this one.
So that's the new one.
Okay.
That's,
Have you only got one
John, we're
copy
looking
of
at
the new?
three different plans. We've got an existing,
have
original, then a
original
revised,
and
and then the
existing.
new one.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so that's,
Could
I
I
don't
make a
know where
suggestion?
the,
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that you come back with a drawing that sort of, I know, but without, see, he's saying, that he would eliminate.
Oh.
John's gonna say you can't have more expanse of balcony than so much. So John said that on that left gable coming forward, what he's calling the northeast or east elevation, he would take that balcony off and only add the balcony, combining the building coming forward with already what's existing. So my suggestion is, could you draw that up and bring that back so we could see
yeah,
that?
I can change that.
With the drawings that you are requesting us to vote on up to date,
I
okay?
thought they were included, I don't know what happened.
there's one
They're
copy.
talking
I'd like to
about,
look at
they're
it.
gonna redo this.
Yeah, that's right. So make a motion to hold from changes, revision.
John, I'm gonna give you this back.
That does make it much clearer, though.
Oh, yeah, well, you weren't putting that in.
Justin just wants to do that.
Yeah, and if you use that balcony, I think you'll have a lot more success.
I know, it's, but I think he's gonna bring back 4 sets of that.
Okay, let me take a motion on that we hold for further drawings. Yes, John?
I have a comment, John. All right. This whole thing here with 3 different styles of changes, all right? One is original, one is proposed, and one is that new one you just brought out, all right? It's gotta come back with that, and take the hand scratching off and highlight everything you're gonna do, all right, in a color.
Well, I do have that drawing. The reason you got 2 new drawings is because that was what was requested
Well,
last
it
year.
shouldn't be in here, because it's confused
I
everything.
just did what I was told to do.
That's right.
So whatever, you won't have those other drawings.
Do you want us
You'll
to
just
have
look
looked
at
at the
it.
shed
Inexpensive.
Sure.
as the same time as the addition, or is there more drawings for the shed?
No, those are it.
Huh?
That's it.
Okay.
What I've submitted is.
Well, perhaps we can have requests for more drawings and to have the shed run track with the,
I'm
Okay,
keeping track for you, don't worry.
with the
John
addition.
made the motion, so.
Does
let's
that
take a
sound
vote.
good?
Yeah.
All right. All those who are in favor of the motion to hold for further drawings and have the shed track with the drawings, say aye.
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 All right.
Any against?
No, I'm just looking.
Okay. So the next one, John, is 10, Delaney.
Yes.
What happened to the
They're gonna
shed?
track.
We were
Tracked
tracking
it.
it with the,
Tracking. You gonna get new batteries for the new year?
Yeah, working great. I can see that. I wish I was blind instead of,
No, you don't.
I was deaf instead of blind.
No, you don't.
No, blind instead of deaf.
all right, is for, yeah.
This is food, McLaughlin, Camp, Oliver, and Mitchell.
All right, so would you like to tell us what you want us to look at on this one?
Okay, John, you want to say what the comments were?
Scale is good. East elevation facing Delaney needs another window on the second floor or separate the gang's windows. The portico on the south elevation is too formal. Thinks west elevation, second floor needs the same treatment. Front door's flat roof portico is too large, it's almost 6 feet deep. Sharp shutters look a little thin. The house is crying for a chimney.
We got our chimney.
You got your chimney.
Thank you.
South elevation, any coverage over the front door will have to have a pitched roof. The right dormer windows are too narrow and should be a single larger window.
So, on the south elevation, I've added a chimney.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Chimney girls.
The right dormer is now a single window. It could be reduced in size if you think it's too big.
It's the same size as, the other ones.
Well, it might look a little big with the shutters on it, but as far as the portico element, here's some photos of something that was recently approved over on Vine Cliff Road. These come out. But if you still don't like it, I can just eliminate it and make it, flush as somebody had preferred.
Well, I think the biggest thing with that was, it's the neighborhood isn't really a formal neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that it's a portico, but it's just in that neighborhood.
Okay.
I love the door as you have it rendered, like if that was the trim around the door.
Mm-hmm. So I can
That
do
would
it.
be the only thing I would say
Okay.
in my opinion, is to get rid of the portico.
So I can make it look I'll make it look just like it does on the front on the south elevation. It will not project out.
Right, but that door is wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't really mind the projection myself. Should we go around the table? Because
Yes,
we're doing all agree.
Johnny, are you ready to begin?
John, comments?
Do we have the previous application?
Previous submission,
Yes.
Yeah. I think it looks good.
I think there's two, but that dormer back
That's crossed off, right?
is
See,
too wide.
that's crossed off.
That's only 2 feet,
Nope.
2 feet
Yeah.
thick. Using this.
Should be. I guess, I don't know.
Here, look,
That's what they wanted.
he made one window instead of there and added a chimney.
Okay, that's what you want, right?
Yeah, and here he added a chimney.
It should be.
And then if you flip back,
Inches. Just
Well, to here, to the wall. Let's see.
they moved this over.
So that's all right.
They wanted a window here and add one here. And he added
Can I
a
go
chimney.
next?
Yep.
And then they wanted to spread out the windows, so he spread out some windows.
All right, so I don't have a problem with the portico as drawn, he's on the handsome. I do have a problem with the, I was measuring out the shutters and they do not come together. They have to be working shutters that are the width, that when they're closed, they would actually work. So I measured
Those
them,
are drawn in at 14, so they'd have to be 16.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
just
they
about.
have,
They look-
they still look on the thin side.
Yeah,
I
they're
would-
14 inch drawn.
Thank you for the chimney. I'm wondering if you, on that dormer on the south side over the secondary door there, if maybe that doesn't have shutters, that's drawing a lot of attention
Yeah.
to the secondary mass, and I think that would
That's a good
quiet that down.
And plus, if you make them wider, you're gonna have no room.
Yeah, I think it's
So
making,
eliminate those shutters and
well, I think personally, I think it makes it a little too busy.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to the shutters, but,
in that case, eliminate them right there
On that,
for the dormer.
on that dormer.
on the front
Right.
dormer.
And then what, make the dormer narrower?
Yeah,
No,
be a little narrower.
it could be a little narrow, I'm not, yeah, actually, it could be
It
a little
wouldn't, it
narrow.
wouldn't look good if it was that wide without the
Right.
shutters.
Yeah, it
So
could
I'd
be,
fix that.
I would do, take off, like, a couple inches on the other side, might
Yep.
limit.
Yeah.
Those are my comments,
All
Madam
right.
Chairman.
Jesse, are you Are you on it?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I like the drawing, I like the south elevation, the portico doesn't bother me, I would be concerned with removing it if it actually, because I think it just marries well with the shutters, but I could be wrong, in a very good point, I don't know the street that well, and it could be that it would stick out a little bit, but I feel like with the shutters, the portico really blends well with the house. And then I would agree on Abby's point about making the shutters a little wider and removing the shutters and narrowing that door.
All right.
And I think that's it. It's just chimney and a few of the window chambers. I have no issue.
All right, Val.
No, I'm good with everything. I seem to be the only one that thinks the portico's too formal, but I wouldn't vote against it if everybody else was for it.
Delaney's up.
I was thinking we're going to not have it stick out so far.
Oh, it's not, it's only 4'6".
Oh,
No, actually,
Minimal.
Mike,
I don't care one way or the other, I can get rid of it.
my mother had a, just like this is Johnson. It's now, yeah, it's now.
Johnny?
But
Yes, I have a comment
okay.
in relation to the blinds or shutters, whatever you call them. Nearly 2/3 of the old Nantucket houses never had blinds.
shutters or blinds?
Blinds, this,
Blinds.
same thing. This comes back from 1937, when 31 contractors and all met, and architects, and met at the Gordon Closure House in 1937. This is a forethought to Will Gardner's 95% perfect, which you can't find today. So I'm just saying this is what is a compliment. I just found this a couple of weeks ago. I've had it for years. And this is a start. I'll make copies for everybody. We're going to work on that.
So two-thirds, as of 1937, of the houses did not have shutters, basically.
Okay, well, here's one for the third.
I will make copies.
Well, that being so, what does everybody feel about the shutters are a prominent thing on this particular house?
I like it.
I think it's fine with minor revisions.
I think you could do it through staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only revision I have at the moment is the front dormer. Remove the shutters and narrow the window.
And widen the shutters to make
Yeah,
sure they...
all the shutters, because they only come in at a foot.
Okay, so who wants to make?
What about the portico?
We'll
keep
leave
it or
it.
not?
Everybody else is fine with it. Motion to approve with the south dormer being narrowed a little and the shutters removed from the window.
And all shutters
And all
made-
the shutters to be made operable and properly sized for the windows. Through staff.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Favor?
Thank you, Johnny.
Through staff, John.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, the next is 12 Bartlett Road. So you have to become chairman.
Why, are you involved in this project?
I thought I had
Money on
fallen
this
in,
one?
but I don't know.
Who's on the board?
Diane's lending me the money. She doesn't know it yet.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody.
We got a booklet.
Can you send
Sorry,
this?
sir,
He's
what
not
did you
here.
sign it?
She's not here.
Laughlin, Camp, Oliver, and Welch.
There he is. Sneaking out some chocolates in.
Come to order. I'm the chairperson.
Oh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would you like
Sit
a locker?
it down.
She knows how to use her hammer.
Sit down.
Look out for women.
L.A.
Anybody want another one?
Steve doesn't.
Sure, yeah. Hey, we don't have to share.
Diane, would you like your own?
Yes.
best looking warehouse I've ever seen. This is a warehouse?
Thank you.
It's a climate controlled storage facility. And may I say something specifically regarding what you guys are looking at?
Please.
So, I was pretty adamant about the structure itself prior. Really the simplicity and just the monitor style of building which I have that's attached to my house. And I am very partial to, but based upon the comments about potentially adding some dormers or breaking up the roof lines, I asked Brooke to make some changes, and I must tell you, I actually like it a little bit better. Having said that, there's another thing, and John, I think I would like to ask you something specifically when you're looking at this. I know that in the past there has been an issue with multiple cupolas on a building. If you can look at this building individually, I think those dormers the cupolas do a good job of breaking up the ridge, and not only that, they are functional. And that's pretty much it.
Do you have a site plan like where this is of the neighborhood? I don't see them.
Oh, you mean locus?
Yeah, locus.
It's on the next page?
What page is it on? No, what page is that?
The locus is
The locus is hidden in the upper corner.
page one.
Page one.
It's behind the fold there, I think.
Okay.
The first page is just the screening plan.
This is Bartlett Road, and then that's the 30 acres.
And Abby, just between here where the property ends
Yeah.
and the next property is a drop of 7 or 8 feet down. So that's why you have the retaining wall along there.
Uh-huh.
There are 2 houses down there at 10. And then you get 2 other small houses and then the old,
It's an existing retaining wall.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we're-
they've already, it's not going to create like a.
No, we're actually specific to that. What we're going to be doing down the road a little bit prior to any construction here is the neighbors. Diane's right in that those 2 houses are actually 2 duplexes.
Right.
And one is quite a distance away from the property. There's one that runs parallel, the closest point is 14 feet. And then it runs off at an angle and gets farther away as it goes to the south. But those 2 residents and I have agreed that I'm going to build them a new retaining wall. Currently, they have stepped old timbers, and it's caving, it's collapsing at the far end. So what we're going to do is build them a new retaining wall, pending approval from you guys, of course, that would not change the height at all, but it would be something substantial right there. And we're going to plant, our screening is going to go behind that wall, up above. What it does for them is gives them, at the narrow end, probably 6 feet of additional flat yard space that they can't use right now. And in the back, it's even greater than that because it runs off a little bit. So it's a mutually beneficial thing. And
That's
actually,
commendable.
So is the wall on their property or your property?
the wall will be on their property, and the wall will belong to them. We're making that happen because it's mutually beneficial. And actually, to that point as well, Steve, I know that in anticipation of your concern about the screening,
I'm looking at it.
yeah, so the agreement between the homeowners association and myself is not yet. And the reason it's not yet is because that my attorney has not been able to get in touch with their attorney. The neighborhood association is entirely on board, and again, it's a mutually beneficial thing. But in the event, for whatever reason, if that could not happen, you have a page in the back of that little booklet, John, which indicates
Last page.
how we simply shift,
I'll stick it back.
how we simply shift the screen right to the inside of the property. So ultimately, what would happen is the picture that you see, the perspective that's on there, has some Rosa Rugosa in front. And the plan that was approved at the planning board has Rosa Rugosa as part of this presumed agreement. That would disappear. But the screening, the screening itself would still be right there. It has no bearing whatsoever.
Is an invasive plant.
So, Madam Chair, may I just comment? Okay, so this is, correct me if we're confirmed, the larger plan is what was approved at the planning board.
Yes.
And what it shows, just so you guys have an understanding, because personally, my vote on this is gonna have a lot to do with the fact that there's a screening involved.
Yes.
So for me, it's important to be very clear about what we're voting and what we're getting. So the cover sheet of the large format shows what was, the layout is approved at the planning board. And if you look at the fence around the perimeter of the property, particularly along 30 Acres Lane, and then the red diagonal line, and the planting material there, that's actually part of the area that Billy was mentioning that's not within his property control. That's not part of his property, but they're trying to work on an arrangement.
It's an 8 to 9 foot strip that borders 30 Acres Lane.
And then the last page of the small packet is what the alternate screening plan would be. I believe this is your formal proposal, what it would be if this doesn't get approved through the association.
If for whatever reason it did not get approved through the association, that would be it. And it is only lacking the Rosa Rugosa planted at the base.
And everything else is moved in a little bit.
Everything else is moved in, and I'll probably just eliminate that fence from the inside.
Just to be clear on what that is, because I think what the kind of the operative.
The screen is more important to me than it is to anybody else here, or at the very least as important.
Well, where it will come up in our deliberations, I would suggest, is with the fence, because if we approve this plan with the fence and the screening is on the outside, it's different than if we approve this plan and the plan material is within the line of where the fence would be. Even,
The trees are staying in the same spot.
no, they're actually moving them in.
I want to clarify something. You will never see the fence, except for the gate area. I think you'll get a partial glimpse of the gate area from Bartlett Road.
See what I mean?
But the fence would never be outside of the screening.
So it goes, so the red hatched is something that stays sort of.
The red hatching is just Rosa Rugosa.
Okay, then there's the arborvitae, and then there's the fence?
Oh, wait a minute, hold it.
This fence, which is the black line, that fence goes away.
Right, that's what I was talking about.
Pardon me, I was thinking about what I call my security fence. What I think, what you're referring to
Is the 30-acre lane fence.
And what that is that's that single rail, just anti-parking thing. A single
Can you
rail.
show us which one that is?
Yes.
He had it right here.
Right here.
And this is a
Oh,
cross.
single rail.
Yeah.
And this
It's,
is cross section.
there is, apparently, in the neighborhood, there has been
Off-street park.
off-street parking that the president of the association in particular is adamantly opposed to. And right now, they have a series of stones along the side there. And this was my alternative, again, pending your comments or what have you.
The stones do what, actually?
They just stop
It's
cars
not people from parking.
Oh.
He doesn't want anybody parking on the street.
So you could, you could do stones or fence, but he's proposing a fence.
I see no,
As a resident of Nantucket, can I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
On your homeowners association, is it all the houses? 3, 5, 7, 9,
no, it's.
Jamie and the boat repair?
It's Jamie and Kate, Jamie and Kate are brothers, and Jeff Sales is Kate's
Right.
husband.
So it goes, Jeff Sales and Kate are directly behind
Right,
this
right
property,
behind this.
right here. And then it goes Jamie Ranny, Bob Ramus,
Right,
and then you know there's those Flint built, I think
Right.
there's 4 that are actually quadplexes or something back in there. There's a couple little homeowners associations that are condos.
right,
And then Larry Weldon has a structure, and then Ron Winters has a structure.
right.
Then Louisa Crosby has a structure. Then there's a vacant lot that Joe Perry owns. Then there is, Joe Perry's house is actually inside. It's not, it
Right.
comes off of
I
Bartlett
was the
Road.
mailman there, so that's,
Right.
I know it pretty
And
well.
So then Richard Perry is on 30 Acres Lane, and then Missy is the front.
Right.
And oddly, the Perrys were excluded from the homeowners association originally. I have no idea why. It was something to do with when Flint developed it and so on and so forth. Richard was given membership within the homeowners association, and Joe and Stacy Perry have membership in the homeowners association based upon the purchase of their rear lot, which is a part of the subdivision.
Right,
The point being that not everybody, and we have no David Perry's property, which is what this was,
Yes.
doesn't have any rights within the road, and is not a member of the association.
Okay. Thank
What
you,
I would-
Diane.
it-
Can we, let's hear a little bit more from the board. John, would you like to give your 2 cents?
Yes, first of all, the application here of a one-rail split fence, low as it is, it should go at least 2. It's all over the island. There are very few singles, you know?
I don't disagree with you.
I think that's one change should be made. I think if you have a cupola, you should have one large one to eliminate the other 3. I don't think they're appropriate to have a building with more than one. They don't serve a purpose anyway, because when the farmers used to have a cupola, they actually had so much land, they could go up there and look out, see where the cows are and what's going on. You could see it, and that's why they made it higher. So I can't understand why you might have one on a big building, would be a barn, say, or something.
These are about lighting, John, and they do serve a purpose. I understand, and I'm.
Okay,
if-
explain to me why it
if-
serves
No,
a purpose.
yeah, let's keep it minimal, though,
For light.
your explanation.
For light. These actually let in a lot of light. These are dark buildings inside. If you've been into any of the climate-controlled storage facilities, most of the windows that are on these facades are specifically designed to be blank. You know, a window, if you just cover it up behind here, the sun comes in and it boils the window out. It kills the window. So these are specially created with argon gas and anti-this and anti-that or what have you to be blanks. There will be wall behind most of those except where they're in the hall, where they're in halls and alleys within the building. And then they will be real and there for light.
Okay, thanks for that explanation, John. Continue.
I want to go back on my question. That my question is that 4 of them I'm making you superfood. You know, and say your interpretation of it, that's your business, you know. But as I say, you're going to have glass in them, you know. You're going to let light in. And most people complain they need the light. You say, what are you doing at night? You shouldn't put the light on. If you need light in there, put a light on. You know, it is simple. Much rather than add this to Nantucket's looks, we'll say, put it that way. You know, you know how strong I am on it. So. And it is out of town.
I'm
The other one,
sensitive to
I had
that.
a question on the, you only have 17 parking spaces?
What's that?
17 parking spaces?
I don't remember how many it is. They should be numbered.
Right there.
Does it say 7? Did you count the 2 in the back? I'll take your word for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
the-
I think won't that be part of landscaping? The
No,
parking?
The parking is sufficient, it's been approved at the planning board.
What else, John? Anything
Yeah,
architectural?
according to the photos, I know it's the top of the photo, right? You know? Yeah, my main thing is that fence, and the other is, whether you put bushes there or not, they're too low, the type you use, but it doesn't matter. But you see the building, it's typical Nantucket style. It's single, it's got windows, so.
Thank you, John. Did you get all that, Terry?
I have it done.
Some of it.
Val, are you on this?
Yeah,
Can I have your remarks?
I think it's a response to my concerns, and what actually has happened is it's been made more complicated, and it's still the same size. I would prefer to go back to the first version then, instead of adding dormers that just draw more attention than these large gables.
Wait, sorry, which elevation are you?
All of the elevations.
You have the books from last week, or?
I've got the old drawings on there, so they're looking at it.
No, so that's what I'm looking at with regard to this. This has just made the whole building bigger, which has been my concern all along. So the first version was actually a more simplified structure, barn-like structure, I guess.
What about the cupolas and
Bill, you had an issue with the shutters before, and in that booklet, there is an elevation without shutters that's on the east side.
Well, you know why? Because I think it's sort of a mix of formal, and then we have a barn. If I had to choose between these two designs, I'd go back to the first one. And it clearly, it's not going to be broken up into two structures. So simple is better.
thank you, Val.
That's my comment.
Diane? Would you like to say, are you on this?
No, I'm not, that's why you're sharing. I wasn't here.
And if all the landscaping is in fact going to be there, I guess it'll be okay.
Steve, did you want to add more to what you had to say about the
Yeah.
architecture?
I would like to comment on the architecture and then make a comment on landscaping. I think, I agree, I appreciate the changes. I see that you're trying to be responsive to the concerns that were brought up. I do agree, however, with Val's comments in terms of the overall simplicity of the structure previously and it being more barn-like. I think that if this were to be approved as it was proposed originally, you need to lose at least 6 inches off the height. And I also think that if we are going to approve, otherwise the structure, with respect to fenestration and doors, I'm a little mixed on the shutters. The doors are fine. Window proportions, I think, are relatively fine. Also want to consider the context. And then the other part of it is that if I feel strongly that if we are going to vote on this without a set determination on where the landscaping will be relative to a fence, that we would have 2 landscape plans to vote. One would be is if you get the approval to build. Look, I just want to be clear on this. If you look at the plan and you look at the locus, there's an area that has landscaping on the cover sheet that shows fence that is not part of this property. So for instance, the split rail, while we may say it's appropriate, technically we can't approve it on other people's property. He can't apply for something that's on someone else's property.
I understand.
So,
If I could just.
well, let me just finish and then I'll let you respond.
No, just, no, back.
So I think my concern would just be that we don't want to have ambiguity as to what we're approving with the landscape plan. We want to approve. However, I don't mind approving both in terms of if this scenario plays out with your development and the agreement with the neighbors and the association, then we approve this. If it doesn't, then we approve this. So that we know out of the gate that it's gonna be one or the other in either scenario. I think that's an important thing to have, because there will be questions that come up in relation to that we wanna review. So those are my comments.
Okay, I think everybody's talked, my own opinion, I agree with Val. I like the first version better. It's simplified. It's not trying to be something that it's not. I liked it from the get-go when I first saw it as a warehouse. I think it's got merit. I don't mind the shutters on the front of it. It's a mixed neighborhood. I think that it sort of makes it fit in well with the neighborhood, and there are other sort of business buildings around it. The one split rail fence, leaves me cold. I would prefer stone.
You have to go to Queenstown Landing right outside of Baltimore, play some golf, and check it out. It's awesome.
All right, well,
I
I'll
wanna-
try to do that.
If I may, just real quickly.
Okay, but the other thing, I guess there is no, the ridge line is really long, and that is, I just have to say that again. The ridge line is very long. It's like, I don't know
That's
what
why
it
I
is.
set the cupolas there.
I see that.
In addition to the other thing, but this was never, I always thought that, and I think Brooke thought, that the landscape plan would be something separate. This was done for illustrative purposes. This is our intent. And I really have no interest in sliding the trees. I have an interest in doing it exactly as is indicated that we put before the board, which is,
Sure.
where the rosary goes and so forth. And I would certainly be willing to say we will not go forward. However, I need some direction as regards the structure and so on and so forth, and I need to get moving.
Did
one
you
way or
get
the other.
enough information from us today to move forward?
Well, if you,
Or on our
I mean, if you
opinions
want,
about that?
if everybody's in agreement that we can go back to the original drawing, but that we keep the cupolas, because that's what breaks up the long ridge lines, and that the shutters face Bartlett, and then you guys have to decide whether or not the shutters also face 30 acres. I think they look good on both elevations. I think that
They are also functioning.
The shutters, so.
The
so,
shutters will function.
Who here likes the first iteration of this
I
better
do,
than?
I do, however, I'm concerned about the height still.
What
And,
can you-
and Val and I, so it's almost, and, John, what do you think about the new renovation? Architecturally.
My only question is the cupolas and the fence.
Okay.
I
And,
had another comment.
The fence
okay,
will disappear.
I think,
That fence
but
that
back,
you-
just to
you-
answer your questions, I think we're split on the, split rail. I think we're split on the cupolas. I think sounds like a lot of us would like the first, conception.
Height.
And-
Does anyone else have concern about height?
Can you
Yes,
explain
of
that to me?
Overall, I've had concern because it's one giant building. There are 30-foot tall buildings over there, but they're split.
That's my concern also.
It's a whole thing.
But I do like the simpler version as it was over this one. And I understand that it's probably impossible to break it into two.
Just to be clear, it is.
It
If
is
there
broken
is
into
any
two, but-
way to possibly differentiate the front and back mass a little bit more in terms of height, that would go a long way.
The larger mass.
At the bridge, right?
You know what I mean? So if this could drop down,
like drop the eve line in the back mass.
Yeah, something.
well, even overall ridge height,
Well, that's what
yeah.
Ceiling
Then
heights are a little lower
I would
inside,
be,
maybe a couple inches. 6 inches.
I
Some
don't
change.
understand the 4 to 6 inch thing.
So, let me back up just for a quick moment. So, I just want to reiterate, what Val had said is that it's a very long structure. It's 120 feet long. There are 30-foot long structures in the area. However, they're much shorter. 30 foot high, but they're much shorter. So what we're looking at is some type of a trade-off with the height to length ratio. So as opposed to being almost 30 feet tall, some of the mass would come down a little bit. And perhaps this back portion, which is viewed on the western elevation, this ridge line could come down a little bit. How you accomplish that, whether it's some ceiling height changes or some top plate height changes or something else, I don't know.
I understand
Like, so
exactly.
that's what I'm saying with
I
that.
understand exactly what you're talking about. I question whether or not the reality is ultimately that is something that is ever viewable or ever makes any.
Viewable, what do you mean by viewable? We're all gonna see it.
I understand, and I appreciate that, as am I. I would ask you to, when you're looking at these plans, the reason that the other ones were done is that's the reality of what you're looking at. It's not a cartoon thing, John. It's an architectural rendering that's very specific. And I think it just puts things in a different light. It's very difficult to look at a structure like this on a piece of paper and feel anything other than overwhelmed.
This ridge line could drop though. And you dropped it here, this could drop down, and this could drop down here. But I think we've said our second, and so I think, do we have a motion here? Does any, you want to say something?
Nope.
I'm sorry. We have a motion.
Billy, is this one the second one, right?
This is 180.
This is the second one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion?
No, I had a comment, I was waiting.
Yes, sir.
All right, I got a question. Ron, are there any letters in for or against this? Any neighbors letters or anything?
It's a very nice looking warehouse, I gotta
It
say.
is. And I have to correct Mike, it's 180 feet total.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So I
that's
just want
like
to
what,
correct that.
you got the.
Nobody
our
said
thoughts.
anything about that, the gable where the office is. Ray had made a comment, and there was a page right in the front of that. I prefer the hip version.
Yeah, they were both.
I think
This version.
by lack of a comment, they're both acceptable.
Yeah.
That would be my read.
Yeah. I like the hip version too.
Do you have a preference?
I like the hip.
I like that one. What's that one called?
That's the hip.
Yeah, I like the hip too.
Do we
Go
have,
back to hold for revision.
There we go. Who's in favor of that?
Just broadly, back to the other one. See what we can do about differentiating the mass from front to back.
Yes.
And basically, that's it. It sounds like.
Yes, massing and, we split on the cupolas and we all seem to prefer the first rendition.
I think this building needs all those cupolas.
Yeah.
I do too.
And
I do too, actually.
And the landscaping, we need to have, a lot of this is based upon the screening, so it needs to be, if you're gonna have scenarios that might play out, bring them both so we can review and approve.
We have been trying to get in touch with the attorney that was supposed to be taking care of it. This has not been for lack
Yeah,
of
no,
us
no,
trying.
Billy,
There's
I
been
don't
no
think,
response.
I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying, if you don't know what the ultimate is gonna be, bring what you would like approved if you're gonna have their approval, and what you're proposing if you're not gonna have their approval. Because I'm not gonna vote yes on this until I know what the screening is.
They're both here, the ones in the
Right.
leaflet.
Well, I think
So-
he's looking for a more formalized
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
set
just
of
looking for
documents,
another
like
set
a site
here.
A and
That's all.
site B.
Yes,
One
thank
that's
you.
the homeowners association and one's the
Isn't it a separate application?
let's bring this to an end because we have to go on.
I think we voted.
You have the
And
idea
you've
of what,
got an idea of what to do next?
Yeah, you're headed in the right direction.
But isn't it a separate application?
yeah,
If,
The landscaping?
if the landscaping is,
don't give it to him, that's mine.
the hardscape is typically separate. If I were to vote on it, I would vote no unless we're voting them both together.
Well, I know in specific cases, like with the project we're dealing with over here, we want to tie them together.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
The approval would be tied in
Contingent.
to what you said you were gonna do.
Yeah, it's not,
This
it's
is
not unusual.
This is adequate enough for me,
Yeah, it's just the layout.
like as a quantity.
No, in terms of if they don't
Where
get the
the
associated
fence
approval,
goes.
where the
Yeah.
fence goes. where
So,
the fence
so
goes.
you
That's
can
great.
say A or B.
Right.
Yes.
Or we can approve both, and if you get their approval, you can use one, and if you don't, you can
But
use
I
the other.
think, but I think they have to come back in and ask you for,
Madam Chairperson, would you move the motion?
Where the stones
We're
are.
gonna remove it?
Is that-
Yes, the question would move the motion.
Hold it.
Oh, move it, yes,
that belongs
yes.
to the homeowner.
All in favor?
Do you know where the split rail is right now? That's pretty much right on the property line, so that strip of property, it's 8 to 9 feet along the length.
Right, I used to open stars for long time ago.
It was fun.
You didn't open commercially. All right, here we go on 19 South Old Surfside Road. Tell us what you got.
This is
I,
a picture from
I'm
Cobble
here
Court.
to listen to your comments after having asked to go take a view of this. Given some concerns about visibility of the back of the building from Cobble Court. And the cable railing that I have proposed, which I had suggested was not visible. But I think you guys wanted to go check. So I'm all ears and I'm happy to comment once I hear what you have to say.
Well, you can see it this time of the year from Cobble Court. But I don't know that the railing is gonna be that discernible.
How much are you really gonna see?
Right.
Did
This
you
is what
have
you
some?
can see.
Can I see? No, I think you make a good point.
Right,
Wire.
right.
Right.
So what color is the railing?
So it's an all-natural railing plan, and then it's got the cables, which, you know, I think
shiny or are they?
I think I should tell you that they will be shiny when they get installed, and that they will patina rather quickly. in
Rust
this
right
car.
out.
Yep, they're not going to rust, but they're going to become sort of just a dull gray.
All right. So that we have a view from Cobble Court that says part of the building can be seen. Specifically, how much of that specific railing is hard to tell. Winter, you're going to see more. Summer, you're not going to see very much.
Yeah, and there is a balcony up there now. There's a staircase, so I think it gives you a good idea. I mean, what you can see now is probably what we're going to see later. It's just whether we're going to be looking at gray cables or gray balusters.
Right. I'm fine with it.
Abby?
My only objection is, I don't like those long posts. I wonder if you couldn't, I know you're gonna say you can't see them, but I'd like some kind of fencing just below it, just to cut that long length of post. I think that's the only thing I object to.
I think they're already there, right?
Yeah, there are posts there
The whole
today.
thing's circled.
There's posts there today. I've made it a little bit wider, Abby, and a little bit deeper, which is why I crowded the whole thing, just to be fair about our renovations to that existing element.
Well, let
what
me
if I
make
were
it
to-
a old Christmas wish that I wish there was something to, you know, cut those posts down, like of some sort of.
I just told my kids this morning, Christmas is 51 weeks away, so I don't know what to tell you.
So,
Sorry, Sam, it went
Johnny,
home.
what does John have to say? You got anything?
Yes, I went down Cobble Court twice, matter of fact. And this is up in the air, and by that photo that she had there on that little machine, if she had it on the bigger one, it would look different.
It would look what?
You can see the second floor through above all that low bushes you have there in that photo.
It would look bigger.
If you put it on your larger laptop, it might show it. But I'm saying, it's not the idea, it's the idea that this is something that right now is visible. And We've only approved one that I know of with the wire, is out in Wisconsin, but it was not visible. So, but I feel it's visible here, and those that have been turned down because of this, and there's been a few, not a lot, but a few, that to keep the harmony of the neighborhood, this is completely offered to the structure that's there. It's gonna stand through. Someone said, you're not gonna see the wire. Well, if you can see it in the drawing, you can see it in the public way, the travel way. I just try to, what is the difference? It's gotta be metal instead of wood. Is there a difference?
Between metal and wood?
No. Is there a great difference by the owner's opinion?
Oh,
Have you talked to him?
I have spoken to him, yep, and this is his preference, so I would like to know how the commission's gonna vote on it. You guys wanted a view, you took a view. Can I have some indication of where things stand?
Who doesn't mind the wire?
Me?
I appreciate John's comment and it makes a lot of sense, but due to the fact of the lack of visibility, even though there is visibility, and that the wire is not very visible just by nature, I'm going to say I'm okay with that.
I'm all right with it. It's not my preference. I prefer to have the old sort of, wooden spindles, but I'm okay with it.
So you've got two. So, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
And all those in favor of
Aye.
approving?
Sorry, John, I take to heart what you said.
I do too. Thank you, John, for your
Say all
comments.
opposed,
Thank you all.
can
All
I
opposed? John, all opposed?
Yes.
Okay. So,
The next one comes in, I'll be opposed too.
The next one comes in, you'll be opposed
Thank
to?
you all.
Well, you're consistent. That's important.
Because the next is gonna be visible, highly visible.
okay, the next one is Three Cliff Lane. Joseph. Hi.
Hey there.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
This too is very visible if you're on either of those streets.
Where is this, like a stone chimney?
Yeah.
Oh,
Block from camp all over Welch or Dutra.
So this was the one where,
And that's where it is, right there?
Right here.
Yeah. That's about as
He's gonna tell
visible.
us he's gonna plant some kind of landscaping, I
Jesse,
think.
there's the one for you and Abby to sign. Okay,
so Lindsay Donaldson for the applicant. So the chimney's already approved, but it's as brick, but we're just want to change it from brick to stone because the walls on either side of the chimney are stone. And so we thought it made sense to have the chimney be stone so it all kind of tied in together. It is visible from Cliff Lane, but we do intend to plant plants along Cliff Lane to help screen it. But again, we're just looking for a material change. The chimney was already approved, so we're just looking to change the material from brick to stone.
and is it not visible from Shady?
This is from Shady.
So it's visible from Shady, but you're gonna have screen plantings along Shady
Where's the-
Lane, which is
where's
what
the
was
stone?
requested in our pool
Well, he
approval.
doesn't have it in yet, right?
What's that?
This
stone?
isn't stone that's in there yet.
What's in there where?
I don't know, it looks like black tarp.
Well, maybe it's an under.
From Shady.
That's the pool. Right
So it goes right
so,
here.
So it would go right in there, yeah. But we've got plants that go all along Shady Lane, which is what you guys wanted with the pool.
Okay. So Abby,
My feeling is that I'm okay with it up to a point, but where it sort of peekaboos around, like, I don't mind looking straight on it because it looks like part of a house with a stone chimney and you've got a French door and the window. I'm all right with that, but as you come around the corner and you look through it like a breezeway, it's very strange to have like a breezeway and then have a chimney at the end of it. So I would say, if I were going to vote for this, yes, I would say that you would have to screen it from here to here with some sort of, something to offset that odd looking, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, we have plans that go all along Cliff Lane, but just keep in mind that when you're coming up Cliff Lane, the only person that goes up Cliff Lane is the Petkoviches.
I'm showing
They're,
it.
they're the only house at the end of the street. It's
Well,
a shell lane. and
Okay, for those people, I want to screen
They're
it.
good friends
Very good.
of these guys. But yes,
All right.
we've already got screening in our plan anyway, so that was our
You
intent.
can see like the layer is very thin layer there already. See it?
All right,
Like that.
Johnny, what have you got to say?
Chimneys to be only of brick, with the exception of being brick or cobblestone. 1937.
Well, what's
Yes,
the-
old timers.
Change it to cobblestone.
Well, all of our walls are already approved at that, and we're matching all of the walls.
Well, maybe you are, and maybe.
Well, the walls were, the walls were all approved at that.
The
so
knee
it was-
walls.
And the walls by the pool, and the knee walls and the walls by the pool were all approved at that. So essentially, so just imagine that type of stone meeting a brick chimney. It would look
What
kind
about
of,
a cobblestone chimney?
it wouldn't look right with the change of stone material. You know, because you'd be going from one type of stone to like a round cobble, which I don't think would
You
look.
could do the corners in square and the middle.
Oh my gosh.
All right, okay, I'm just trying.
Johnny, do you have something to say?
What is this? You taking the window out?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hawkeye over there.
Steve, are you on this?
I am. I guess my first question is, are you proposing to do this dry lake like the walls, or are you gonna have mortar joints?
So it's all gonna be mortared in, but it's gonna have a dry look appearance. Like we're gonna go tight with it, so there won't be mortar showing.
So there won't be flames coming out between the stones.
No, you're not gonna see. It's not gonna be
You're not gonna
pointed
see
with
any
mortar.
mortar,
No,
any
you're not gonna
mortar.
see any mortar.
I would actually prefer that, but I'm not gonna hold it up on that. I think it would look more appropriate with even a thin mortar joint as a chimney application, which is a traditional way to have a mortar joint, whether it's brick or stone. I've seen much less appropriate chimney materials in the area, and I think the idea of the screening on the south elevation and if it's applicable on the north, as you, in your plan.
When you say
is
pointed,
good.
how thick?
Just something
Just a
that's not
little
a
bit?
dry lay, yeah.
Okay.
The dry lay is
Yeah.
very.
And and it does kind of break up that monochromatic kind of thing that's happening. Because,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, quarter inch probably at this scale, 3/8, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And gray, I mean, just something that blends, but I just think that would make it look more appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, I'm open. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Oh, okay, everybody, you on it?
No, I'm not.
You had nothing to say? Then I have a motion then.
Oh, well, you want me to try one?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve, well, for myself, screening the north side and as you go down Cliff Lane so that you do not see the porch area, and that the stone chimney have mortar from 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch mortar in places. And was there anything else on that?
No, except it would be a stone chimney rather than
Yeah,
a brick.
I said stone chimney.
With the mortar of approximately 1/2 inch, and screening on the north side going down Cliff Lane.
Yeah, that's my motion.
All those in favor of the motion, Abby's motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
All right, the next one is 19 Westchester Street. 9. What did I say? I lied. the roof changes and fenestration?
Yeah,
Okay.
And it was held for view,
so
I
for
think.
you, I was supposed to do some research, figure out how, when it was built.
Coombs, McLaughlin, Camp, Oliver, Welch, or Future.
Sure. So, I was trying to figure out when the back part was built, and from the file, the ABC from the Historic Association there is a record, there is a survey made, but the date, there is no date, it's all undetermined and unknown. So, it's really hard to tell from all the documentation I have. It still looks like it was built in somewhere in 70s.
It looks like it
Very
was
close.
built when?
In the I think 70s. Looks like it's
1970?
1970, yeah. I mean, it's very was connected. Very was connected with the front building
He's talking
later.
about the back, not
The
the
back,
front.
yeah, the back. Front was built in 1795. And there is I can actually get this. This to you, so you
Oh,
can
you
record
got
it.
96.
Remember?
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Johnny, would you like to begin?
Yes, I have no comment.
Okay. Val?
I think from Westchester, it looks like a huge improvement to me from what's there.
Is that south elevation? That's just
That would be south. He's keeping the eve line that's there and just continuing it in back and getting rid of the funk.
Yeah.
This elevation is primarily the same, but he's adding a window. And I think the only thing that maybe would even simplify it more is to get rid of this little gable on the east and just have the roof line carry across. It's not really giving you light, there's no window there, and I don't think it's high enough or anything, right?
it's not really high enough. It's just the roof look too much plain roof
Well, but
surface.
it's simple forms is what the old timers did, and this really is kind of what that is.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
pretty
without the-
angle there.
This is Sybil Goldsmith's
Without the
studio.
table.
Sybil Goldsmith, the artist.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's her
Yeah.
studio. It says it right here.
The one up at the back of the hill a little bit?
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, and the only person from Wyers Court, I think, is Dale Wayne, has a garage you scoot in there. But I think simple is better.
All right. What about you, Jess?
I know, it's crazy. Which is this?
So we got rid of that whole thing there. This and this and this and this. This can also be just so it wouldn't fit.
Yeah, just to fit on the page.
Yeah. I'm okay with the south elevation.
No, I don't think so. I would agree.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Abby?
I thought that the gable in the, where you're renovating in the back there, I guess where her studio was, I would still rather see the gable switched so that you look at, like the front of the house, you see the roof coming down instead of looking at the gable end of that addition. I think I don't know of another, this is an antique house, and On the south elevation,
Yeah.
the gable that is off to the left, you have a facing gable coming towards the street. I'd like to see that
You're
switch.
pretty much keeping it as it was. You
Right,
see the gable
but
right now.
but
Just
because-
making it a little bit bigger.
Right, I
extending
know, but I'm saying historically, when people have renovated, normally you see them renovate with the roof coming towards
Yeah.
towards the, Westchester
that
Street.
seems-
Not, you don't usually see the gable. That's a more modern,
Yeah, and
approach
that's
to
what
it.
we wanted to keep it as it actually is. We're not switching the gable.
So
There
this is a
already is a
little
gable.
gable?
And I didn't want to change the.
yes, but
to
this,
the front, but
this,
the gable is-
what you are working on is already an anomaly. So I'm saying that because you're going to change it, why not make it look more historically correct, the way they would normally do an addition onto an antique house? So I'm in favor of switching the gable to the, 90 degrees.
I think we'll end up on the other side. We'll end up with really very tall gable. So actually, Val wants to get rid of that little gable. And then we will end up having a really tall wall with the gable on that side, which would look way worse than anything else. pretty much.
Those are my thoughts on that.
All right, have I gotten everybody a thought?
And also especially there is, the yard is so tight. Actually, there's a little patio that goes around the building, just next to the wall.
Well,
So
I
you'll be
thi-
standing next to
you
the
know-
wall that's almost 25 feet tall.
Okay, but this is one of our older houses, so I just want to do it sensitively. I want it to be done right.
Yeah,
These
I
are the things
understand.
we really care about.
I
These are,
understand, I'm just saying how it will end up. Now, on one side it might work this way, but the other side might be not as
here?
successful.
It's here, and it's already like that.
Yeah. So, which elevation are you liking? Are you the existing west or
So,
Well,
south? Which one?
what's gonna happen to the north elevation when that changes?
it would get, it would be the same, this would be something like
Or just see the roof, just the roof
that,
covering
or
everything behind.
whatever. I'm not sure where it would carry it over, but this,
Yeah, all the way to there, right there.
yeah, this
Yeah.
would be like this.
What, you get rid of the broken back?
Well,
I think it will be very long roof, very big, tall.
I'm just saying that, what I was thinking about today when I was driving around, I was thinking that what we really care about is what something looks like from the street. And it's massing towards the
but-
back is also important, but when,
So from the street, you probably see like 10% of the building. Is that very important, what you see from the street?
I-
The rest
well,
can be whatever, even if it's.
I don't want to argue with you.
I'm just asking like how.
Yes, I think it's important. I think that 10%
Even
is
those
important.
10%?
Yes, I do, because I think that's, that's what we're here for.
So
to
we,
do a
do you want
sensitive job.
revisions?
Well, no, I mean, I don't think, maybe everybody doesn't agree with me, it's just my own opinion.
What I would say is, I'm open to look at that, but I wouldn't certainly want to approve it unless I saw the revision, but I'm okay with the way it is now. I mean, the one thing that, I know it's completely different footprint, but you are kind of matching the silhouette of
What's there?
the existing south elevation with the new proposed south elevation, even though it's. That's what I'm saying, yeah.
The south elevation is what is facing the street. And funnily enough, in this particular location, you see a lot of the studio up there. It's not blacked out with the house in front of it. So, do you want to have revisions so that we can see what the other?
Well, I don't think he's going to take my advice.
well,
so-
I have a suggestion. I I understand what you did. You're just continuing what's already there and making that, getting rid of the funkiness of that.
Yes, I understand.
I do think that there are older houses that have a similar roof arrangement, and maybe if you took some pictures of a couple, Abby could be swayed.
Prove it.
Yeah, okay. Let him take some pictures.
So why don't we have,
The interior program was, there's nothing. May I make a comment, Madam Chair? I was just gonna suggest that, I mean, in terms of drawings, prove your point. If you think it's gonna look worse the other way, maybe make the change, because the interior program doesn't, it's not gonna change your interior program so much. I mean, you're not,
It might actually help us a little bit.
Yeah.
Interior, but I still think that this way it looks better than
especially
having
from north
the gable, switch of the gable. Especially if the gable is already this direction.
yeah,
I didn't want to switch what is there. I want to keep the same direction of the gable,
Yeah.
just extend the roof.
So
By
my-
changing drastically the
Yeah.
view from south.
so
Okay.
my comment is simply that you might prove your point by actually making the change as a
why
proposal.
don't we have a motion to hold for revisions? And at that time, we'll be able to see the other proposal. And we'll bring some photographs, and be sure if you take photographs, put the address on your photograph, so you don't just get photographs with no address. Is that good? Please, thank you.
Abby, what if you left the chimney on there?
Yeah, that's sugaring the motion, isn't it?
Christmas wishes.
Christmas wishes. Are you in favor of that? You the one with, let me go back. You know?
That would look good.
Here, if you did it like,
Keep the chimney
I
there.
like
like
that.
here.
I like that little, there's a whole bunch of houses.
Now, where would the chimney
Sometimes
go?
there wasn't any
Chimney's
window at all.
behind the
It's
building.
stair-
You don't see it from the south.
Add it to the
Further back.
revisions.
Beg pardon?
Add it to the revisions.
I think you
As
can
an
find
option.
pictures, and I think you can prove your point.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can find pictures, yeah, actually.
That would be
Okay,
great.
yeah.
Thank
all
you.
right, so all those in favor of that motion?
And we'll hold for
So-
more information.
More information, no revisions.
Right. Okay? Thank you. The next is for Flora Street, the roof change.
It's
Oh, so
what you
this
wanted
is
to
to
see.
change to architectural
Yeah.
and
it's
not
great.
black?
Great, yeah.
So we're gonna hold this, all right, Madam Chair? I suggest we hold it because we've held 2 other applications in the old historic district until we have our organizational meeting to hash this out about the roof colors.
Yes, I think that's a good, you understand the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
We're,
When is the meeting going to?
the
the end of the
30th
month.
of this month, okay?
What color were you proposing?
Great.
The light gray, which is really shows a huge differential in the,
Which is on the
What
neighbor's
what
house,
address is
actually.
this?
It's 4 Flora Street.
oh, was that approved? Did we find that out?
What?
The light gray?
No. I thought we,
On the house next door. he
We
found.
could approve it in
Black.
black.
Yeah, it can be approved, just not.
We can approve it right
In
now
black, yeah.
in black.
But yeah, I
Some
have to
roofs-
double check with the client if he want.
You can get it now in black and come back if it's not okay.
some roofs
Yeah.
were re-roofed
Can do that.
without HDC permission. It's very hard to keep track of them
Yeah.
for our investigators, so, don't always count because the roof next door or across the street is the color you want, because
Yeah.
we have no guarantee that it was approved.
And
I
we're
mean, we can
holding
change it
one
to-
on,
You can change it to black,
Motion to approve it in black?
Yes,
and we'll still wait for the meeting and see what they'll
Yeah.
decide on the
Black
meeting.
architectural?
You'll have to go
Yeah.
for a revision. if
Whatever
you
we're
change it.
supposed to approve for that area.
Yeah, so we'll approve it in black architectural and if you're,
Monochromatic, uniform black, right, Steve?
architectural, motion
Oh, that was you, I'm
approved.
sorry, Steve.
All right, I have a motion to approve in black architecture.
Aye.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do my research.
Uh-oh.
The next one is,
Go, Diane.
Keep it going. Keep it
That's all I have.
I'm going.
You're doing good.
Yeah,
The next
One way or
one
another.
is
I have to prove my point too. I can't.
10 Straight
You
Wharf.
don't have to do that.
Is Nancy here? Motion to hold 10 Straight Wharf
Okay,
All in favor?
all in
for
favor?
representation.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, the next one is,
Hold John.
Johnny, we're holding 10 Straight Wharf.
Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, see, I told you. The next one is 11 Lily Street, Edgewater, hardscaping wall and driveway.
Welcome. Happy New Year.
How are you guys? Will. No one there?
All right, there, is that. All righty. This is hardscape wall and driveway. So tell us what you,
Okay, so the board had a couple concerns as of last time. Too much brick, driveway, so I can go through one by one. I'm a little sick, so I'm a little delirious at the moment. So first and foremost, first comment, the driveway. Driveway was presented originally to be all brick. I've gone back and put in a small antique Belgian block apron and changed it to gravel to match the neighbor across Snake Alley.
I love that name.
Next.
And then there was a lot of brick, so we were suggested, so what we've done is we've actually decreased the amount of brick inside the courtyard area by about 300 square feet. We changed to mostly antique granite stepping stones and created 2 smaller patios and 1 smaller upper patio by the garage. Remove the gate along Lily Street. Again, there was a gate at the driveway. We removed that and just leaving 2 antique granite posts to signify the entrance. And the retaining walls remain. Those are pretty much imperative to the site. So
this, along the garage,
yes, sir.
you have that brown,
The retaining wall.
is that a retaining wall?
That's actually shoring for when that foundation was dug.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. That I think may be in something to do with maybe a previous HCC application. I don't know how that's being veneered yet. I haven't. That's something that the contractor installed. We're not really addressing that.
Okay, I just wondered what it
Yeah,
was.
that's just steel beams, with 2x10s interior holding up that hillside. I assume it's going to be veneered in wood, but that's not something that we're applying for at the moment.
And what's you have a stone wall that is existing, or are you putting it in on the other side of the garage? At the upper patio?
He's adding all of
Yeah, those are just one 32-inch stone wall and one 18-inch wall. Bottom one is 18, the top one is 32. And those are because the elevation change of all 3 structures is, as you can see, the elevations in the lower left-hand corners of each building.
Okay.
Is there a fence along along the south,
Along Lily Street?
no, between, it looks like a house is close here. or
There is no fence there at the moment. That's the line of the foundation
Okay.
there. So basically what we're gonna probably is
Because
between,
there's a shower right there.
that shower is something that I was asked to put in. That's just a slab on grade. No enclosure.
No enclosure, okay.
No. It's just basically, it's a walkway to get around to the backside of the garage, and then an informal shower, more of a foot bath. But that's also to access that kind of storage area between that existing wood retaining wall and the garage.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
What's the hatch mark around the garage?
It's around the house too.
The far right and the,
Oh, maybe
Those
an
are just
overhang.
utility areas, gravel. There's no sun there whatsoever, so I'm proposing just a gravel area.
I went up there today, and I can say honestly, unless you are walking up the stairs to Academy Hill, this shed structure blocks everything. Really.
Well, unless you're at that step looking right.
Well,
in.
right,
Yes.
that's the only place, and I think because it's not highly traveled, I don't think.
it's a very nice design,
And I appreciate the changes, thank you.
yes,
Can
especially breaking up the brick.
the little
and
piece
stone.
of brick on Lily Street be running bond too instead of,
Everything's running bond.
Okay, it
We're gonna
just
make it
is-
as traditional as possible.
it just is rendered
And we're gonna
the
do,
other way.
which one is that?
Right on Lily.
Oh, I'm sorry, I never changed that hatch,
That's
yes.
okay.
I don't even know if that's gonna be there anymore. That's kinda contingent on how the front steps actually work out. It could end up being just one stepping stone or nothing.
How high are you going to have your hedges?
That's contingent on the budget at the end of the project. Oh, the hedges on the, here they're gonna be arborvitae. Those are gonna be a minimum of 7 feet, actually.
Oh, you do know the deer are rampant.
They will, well, that job
Well, you'll
security, I'll have
burlap.
to
Burlap on
burlap
the,
it,
that's
so,
what-
yeah.
So those are gonna be these are actually trees?
Yeah, those are arborvitae
Oh, okay.
from there around to the corner of the shed.
All right. So Val's right, you're actually not gonna see.
Well, we don't
this.
want anyone to
That's-
see in, because
No, of course
right now
not.
you're in a fishbowl, so
Right,
it's like
right.
the more we can screen it, the
I
better
know.
for the
You-
homeowner.
My only comment about this is that it just seems so rigid, like everything is a square, and this is an old house. I would rather see something a little more naturalistic, more rounded edges, more stone with grass, some combinations of something like that, but
It's,
it's just,
But let us finish speaking, okay?
You're, because of the arborvitae, you're probably not going to see it, but
Johnny, you had something you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
There's no description of what is what. You got all these photos here,
okay.
but there's no arrow showing where it is. We don't know where it is, And the other one, these photos are taken to the advantage of the homeowner, not the HCC. This
Right.
wall, if you see in the bottom photo, right, that's a solid cement wall, it's been there before my time,
Right.
1929. they
It
built
says
that
Academy Hill parking lot, view 3.
Yes.
field, Right?
Right.
But, the photos are taken to their advantage, not ours.
I took those
You
photos
go-
after the last meeting.
Right?
I took those photos after the last meeting. To
Okay,
show.
if you're taking these photos, it shows the whole width of it, the whole here, which you can see from standing beside that wall. And you weren't close enough to the wall to look over it, to be from a scene from a travel way.
he was pulling up fast one.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm 6 feet tall. I took the pictures to whereby anyone could look down. If they're looking in any closer, the police should be called on. I don't see why. I don't.
You go to where the bushes are.
I did. I took
Okay,
that
and you
picture.
took the picture, I can see it.
Yeah.
But that's only a short area. You don't know what's over here on this side of that photo. What's
Correct,
well,
correct. I mean, I'm just saying where those lines are, those are exactly locations. I just wanted to give you an idea of what I was seeing, because that building, that garage there now is so tall.
Excuse me, that's to your advantage. I say that.
Okay.
So, hey, fine, no, they weren't taken to our advantage.
No.
The other is, these, you don't know where these.
Those are
bushes
just
are going.
proposed plant material. We haven't determined.
Okay.
Those just some proposed plant images that we're going to be using.
Yeah, but where are they gonna go? You know, you're looking at this, you don't know where arborvitae is or
John,
where a
it says
tree is.
the arborvitae is going to be, as you go into the driveway parking, it's to the left.
Ah, okay.
I was
It's
just
the-
trying to,
sorry, to the right.
I just tried to put labels on what was really pertinent to the questions
I
at
got it.
hand.
Are you going to
Thank
submit
you.
a formal
Planting plan,
landscape?
We don't have
We
to
don't
have
have
that.
this wind purview.
if you would like.
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, you may make.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment, and that comment is a motion to approve, subject to labeling, more thoroughly labeling your hardscape materials, and revising the front herringbone to a bond, running bond. Hardscape?
You did a great job.
Yeah,
Aye.
it's a big difference from the last application, for sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Happy New Year.
Appreciate
Go
it.
ahead.
Happy New Year.
Do you want me to hold mine till the end?
No, you're
Okay.
gonna see it next.
Goodness.
Well,
Do we need to
Ethan is in,
motion 15 Bassett Road?
Hold it.
yes, Ethan texted me, he's not
15
here.
Bassett.
Motion to hold 15 Bassett.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Holding 15 Bassett.
Ronan, thank you.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I said all those in favor. I said that.
I know, but I understand.
What do you think?
Made revisions,
19B, Wayland Road.
Waydale Road.
What did you change?
I changed a lot.
I don't care about those running rails. It's cute.
No, it's not bad.
This is Combs McLaughlin Camp Duke Truck.
No, it's not very bad. Shall I go through my revisions?
Yeah, let's give her hell.
Let's kick her butt.
Ah. So there was some concern about the meeting rails on the dormers, so Ray made a suggestion of adding a foot to the knee wall, which I didn't want to do, but I in fact did. I totally redid the front elevation. As you can see now, the door is centered on the gable and showing you how the windows relate to each other. On the northeast, I made the dormer smaller.
Thank you for trying to figure out something that makes,
On the northwest, I made the dormer way smaller. Yeah. Yeah, instead of, it was real wide. And tried to line up windows where I could again. In the back, I didn't change at all.
All right.
Looks good to me.
Abby?
marvelous.
Marvelous. Johnny?
No comment.
Thank you for,
Motion to approve as submitted.
I actually like it better myself.
alrighty then.
Okay, all
Everybody's
those in
happy.
favor of Jesse's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Everybody,
then the next one, I don't have any minutes, but I'll go by my memory.
Looks good. Should cover it.
Brand new dwelling.
Yes, ask for some revisions.
Oh, this is that, cul-de-sac place?
Don Dimick's property on Bartlett.
it's,
Combs McLaughlin Camp and Duke Truck.
I'm not on it.
I brought them in small version and stapled them, no? I guess I didn't. Do you wanna hold it?
Hold on, we got something here. Right here.
Well, I
like that, that's cool. That explains it.
We can make it work.
on the front, the concern was the dormer and the window ratio. It was a flush dormer. Abby suggested doing the smaller windows, which we changed all of the 6 light windows to double hungs. And I carried the roof up with a steeper pitch, so it filled in a lot of that previous knee wall concern. On the left, there was a triple, I believe, where the windows were mulled, and I've separated them and eliminated one. The left east dormer, I made double hung instead of awning. On the rear, I separated what was formerly a mulled triple on the first floor dining area. I made the porch deeper because the railing was real small or short before, and I changed it to shingled so it will blend in with the wood roof. And formerly the south dormer had a awning, and I changed it to a double hung. And that was the concerns as I remember them.
You guys want to look at previous drawings here?
Yeah.
Can I go first, Madam Chair?
Yes, please do.
Love the changes. My only concern is the east elevation. I either like the previous.
The previous is circular.
Oh, sorry, it was over there. Where you had them closer together, or I'd like to see 3, but I don't know if you have a wall in between.
On
On the to
Left
the
elevation.
on the left hand, right here, Val.
Oh,
That-
on the dormer.
Yeah, that space looks like it wants a third, or I like the way you had it in the previous. Other than that, I like the changes.
Either way, I was trying to line them up with the windows down below.
Well, could you add a third one?
I can.
Be adorable.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
You, are you next?
I am with Abby on all those comments.
All right. Johnny?
No comment.
You made all your awnings double hung.
Thank you, appreciate
Did
it.
you
Appreciate Al.
appreciate
Appreciate Al.
Have
We
a
may try that in the
motion.
future.
A motion to approve adding a third dormer on
Good
that
idea.
south elevation.
Third window on the door.
Window in the dormer.
Third
On the left.
Window.
window
on
In the
in the dormer on the south side.
Okay.
Yes, left.
East, left.
Oh, east, sorry.
Yes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We were gonna get out of here before 7.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
we got just a couple things to discuss. Okay, the next one is,
Shh.
24 Evergreen.
Oh, it's HDS.
I don't know, it's Wacky Land is all I knew.
Evergreen. Don Santos
I'm here from
Marcial.
Marcio dos Santos. His architect made revisions based on the last meeting. You had a few requests, I think, from Val, and he honored all your requests.
Are you the owner or are you representing?
I'm representing Marcio.
Are you giving names?
Brazil. I'm Robert Sarkeesian. I'll spell it for you. S like Sierra, A-R-K-I-S like Sierra, I-A-N like November.
K is in Afghanistan.
K is in Kilo, if you go by the airline alphabet. No. That's how they go. The traveling.
So yeah, there were a few windows that you wanted larger, which you did, and the elevation you brought down. I think that was all there was. A few minor. This is a garage apartment. It's a nice looking garage.
I like a little more, and a little bit of top.
Oh, you only in the door that you didn't like the lights, they changed those all. 3 things.
Johnny, do you have
I'm still looking, thank you.
Abby?
I like the changes. Can't remember what you did, but I like the changes.
Door, the one door you didn't like the lights, so it's a solid door.
Uh-huh.
A couple of windows you wanted bigger, and elevation.
Yes, I remember these C windows were tiny.
Well, now they're more horizontal. Can you make them taller?
Yeah, can you make them a little bit taller?
I think he
Somehow-
made them wider instead of taller.
If they were one size taller, the
Okay.
pane, like if it's a 5x6, it could be like a 5x7.
It is
Yeah.
a kitchen window, but if you just made them taller, the panes would be vertical, and it doesn't matter if they, because it's cathedral. Right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Okay. Is that something we can approve
Tuesday,
today?
Saturday.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, good.
Unless John has something.
That's the 3 windows in the south elevation.
Yeah.
Which were already plotted, so we're just making them taller and wider, or just?
No, just taller.
Taller.
Okay, you don't
So
put
they're
that in
one,
there.
One
vertical
size
and
taller.
horizontal.
Okay.
Okay. Johnny, do you have something?
Yeah, one question, doors, are the overhead doors?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to write it, design that way. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of Val's,
Aye.
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 Make with the, making those in the
3
the
windows
three
in the
gang
south
windows.
elevation, taller.
Size-
With vertical panes.
With
Taller,
vertical.
till the panes are vertical.
The C windows, Mary.
Yep.
You're approved.
All right. So the next one is math.
Is Tobias holding his or
Dustin
Diane
was
tonight?
Marcios, so.
He's around.
Three pilgrims.
He needs Ray to.
Morse.
Oh.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, Ray was kind
Nice to have company.
That's right. I think it belongs.
New Year, you know.
30,
Well, not on that one.
31 pilgrims.
I am too, but.
And they came up with a very creative,
Holding up like my sister.
Where's your-
Higher and higher every time. Welcome, guys. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
nice haircut.
You got
Yeah.
scalp.
I did. Really good
Talk
number.
about pilgrim.
Really good number, for sure. Okay, you want me to go? Or I didn't, not all of it. no.
Okay, all right.
You get
catching
to
up.
pay extra. It's more expensive than a haircut.
I'm on it.
Make you look younger.
Okay. You got something to tell us, Matt?
Thank you, Madam Chair, sure. So, you've seen this, I think, just once before, appointed. We made a number of changes. John, most significantly, we dropped the main body of the structure so that the meeting rails lined up on the north elevation. That was probably the larger change. I felt pretty strongly about John as well. Everywhere else, we made a number of fairly minor changes. Specifically, the front door, kind of focusing primarily on the west elevation, which is on A2.1. You asked us to consider some type of more elaborate or detailed door, which we've provided. Hopefully, you guys like it. We went a little bit wider on the side casings of the door itself, and then we did these little returns for the shingled rail, which previously in the initial submission we didn't have it. That return, primarily on the right side of the entry. I think that there was some concern that just the half wall terminating perpendicular to the main body of the house wasn't enough, that it needed some type of a return. So that's what we've shown We made some minor changes to the breezeway, just kind of centering it between the two windows, just seemed a little bit more, that really wasn't critical where that fell, we just wanted it to be a little bit more symmetrical. On the south elevation, we didn't ask us to do this, but we just thought it looked a little bit better, is we dropped the rake and the plate of the one-story addition off the back. It's kind of shown in profile on the south elevation, and then more specifically on drawing A 2.2 on the east elevation. So those are the really primary issues you had with it. We've also since submitted and been approved for the garage and the pool cabana. So that's all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Val?
I'm good with all the changes. I think it was just the meeting rails,
Yeah, that's right.
and I like the door.
Abby, I just, is that a section, Matt?
It is, yes, correct, because if
Oh,
we show the
that's-
garage would obstruct that kind of portion of the house. So we show it as a cutaway.
Because I didn't think that looked too good.
Yeah, it does look so good.
It's a shower enclosure with no walls around it.
Yeah, there you go.
I have nothing.
All right. Johnny, do you have something?
Yeah, well, I guess you gotta fix an awning here. Fixed awning. It can't be fixed, it can't be,
That's
an awning.
that's an oxymoron, apparently, yeah, so it would be fixed. That's, yeah,
It's just the type
yeah.
of window.
yeah.
This here, is this coming off?
Yes, and we added, if you look at the site plan, John, the garage is technically connected by a roof breezeway, if you will.
Abby's favorite.
And you don't really see it necessarily, but we thought it would be
But you can't see
cut
it.
through.
I was wondering why it's too wide for that, for box
Yeah,
window.
it's a section.
I tell you one thing, the meeting rail. There's a problem here, I think. Real close, but they're close enough.
The meeting
That's
of
right.
rails.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve is submit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, you always do that.
I do that. I'm bad.
I'm not gonna let you use my scale anymore. I have no comments other than it's very appropriate, nice design.
You give me all this trouble. You gonna put any trim on it?
You gonna put any trim on that?
You can make a motion.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be huge.
No,
Big one now. Okay,
Motion to approve is submitted.
I thought Jessica was, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're doing 46 Simo?
Actually, okay, thank you.
Did you take a vote? Yes.
Yes.
I was gonna, Madam Chair, the landscape and the pool, I was gonna see if I could push to the next whole business meeting.
Okay.
We're doing some edits to that, so just the guest house, if we can review that, that would be great.
Okay, so we'll do the guest house first and then
Clean it
we'll
up,
vote on
what's
whole-
I'm getting there.
the pool and the landscape.
Ray isn't here tonight. Just so you know. If you need him to.
This is Cruz, McLaughlin, Camp, Oliver, and Lowe.
You get that?
I got that.
Thank you.
Time wise.
Oh, boy.
Every time they change something, they get money.
That's true too.
So, Madam Chair, if you're ready, I can start.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. So, probably the most, if we just go to A 2.4, which is the elevation sheet,
Yep.
I would say that drawing 3, the east elevation, was where we spent most of our time. Initially, we actually had one long eave line with one shed dormer, and I think the board collectively felt that that was too inarticulate, and that some type of cable would be more appropriate. So we were able to do that. I thought it was a great suggestion. I definitely agree with that. And then at the last meeting, one of the neighbors had a representative come and express some concern about the visibility of the east elevation. In particular, the way that we had presented it previously, we absconded of any retaining walls in the interest of transparency. The reality is, the site plan, we have a series of retaining walls that flank that basement drive out, and so we kind of updated the drawings accordingly to demonstrate that the reality is that on the east elevation, which again, you really have to be on this property to see. There is technically, there is a way, it's a public way, so technically it's a public way. So somebody could walk down the driveway, but the truth is that you really wouldn't walk down that driveway unless it was your own home, because it doesn't lead you to anything else other than that house. There is a public access just before this house, which is a public parking area and access point. So again, I feel like the visibility of this is fairly de minimis. But having said that, we made an edit to the pent roof, which previously went the entire length. We feel that this kind of breaks it up a little bit, even a little bit further. Finally, we just made some preliminary edits to the south elevation, which is basically the side. You've got the east, and then you've got the south. Again, the south, there's a lot of brush, and again, I don't think this is visible, but again, it just kind of demonstrates that we have a series of retaining walls. That is one of the reasons that we're actually holding the landscape plan, because we're kind of making some of these architectural edits that are related to the landscape plan. So with that, I'm curious to see what the board thinks. Thank you.
All right, can I ask you one question? On your east elevation, and you go all the way down to the ground,
Yes.
and then up to the tippity top.
Yes.
On your south elevation, you have that as 3110.
Correct.
So what do you have that at the east elevation?
That would be the same thing.
3110?
Yes.
And you're allowed to have that?
You can't go over 32 on any one elevation, even though this is a slope lot. You can see on the short side, at grade, at the average grade, at the height, higher elevation, we're at 22 feet exactly. So yeah, you're just not allowed to go over 32 feet in any one direction.
So this is the guest house.
It's guest house garage.
So we're working at a 30-foot high guest house?
I mean, I would say that the average elevation, when you calculated it, would not be 32 feet or 3110. This is just, that's the one most severe elevation, quote unquote. And I would actually also submit to you that that's not the entire elevation. If you took into account the retaining wall adjacent to the garage doors, you're up an additional 5 feet, so your height is somewhere in the range of like 26 feet or something like that.
Shouldn't it be 24-ish?
Well, it's 22 pretty much on on 3 elevations.
Okay.
The only one that is not 22 is
the long one?
is the east
Yeah.
and the south. And again, it's a partial, because again, if you think about it, the driveway cut, bless you, the garage door is basically like a cut. It's almost like an underground access is the way I think it's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, I just wanted to,
And the sloped lot is obviously very challenging, because you're never going to get an equal. Having said that, we worked incredibly hard to get at the higher elevation, which is basically the west and the north elevation, and partially the south. That we would prefer to go to 24, but we kept it to 22. So it's a little bit lower in the areas than that it needs to be, but it's obviously higher in this one area where we have this.
okay. Well, just to answer the question of what the view was on the east. Do you want to begin, Val?
Sure. I appreciate the changes, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Abby,
I've got nothing.
Steve,
I appreciate the changes, thanks.
I have one comment. See this drop here?
Yes.
It's almost 18 inches.
Yes.
Now, looking at it from this way, are the stairs down here coming down, or why is there a drop?
I'm pushing to get a set of stairs there without a railing, and so that's one of the things that we're working through with the
You're
landscape
gonna have
designer.
stairs, they won't be showing above this, you gotta be going right up here.
You would see them, you would see them in that elevation. Currently, there is no stairs shown. I do think that it would probably be helpful to have them, but I'm trying to, it'd be great to have them in a way where they don't look.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. I have a motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Matt. Happy New Year. Oh, we need to vote to hold the pool and landscape design
So moved.
for the next meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
What, solar panels in the historic district?
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Good evening.
Hi.
Welcome.
Is this for me? Are those for me?
Happy New Year, yeah.
Here we go. Who's the team
Coons, Camp, Oliver, and Dutro.
already?
I like your squiggly roses.
You know, the landscape architects are expensive, so.
You got a really expensive one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one's apparently very artistic.
Yeah, that's me. Well, I brought the ivy is like super thick. I don't even know how to draw it. It's like a huge blackout marker.
Good representative.
It's gonna be there's a thick bundle of ivy, so we're just gonna replace it, move the plant essentially.
So you're closing off that little overhang completely?
Yeah, so that's at the very back. So it's at the back of it. We got some feedback, I think from you, Val, that you wanted to see something at the back, so we put something in.
Oh, so it's open in the front?
Yeah, it's open in the front. It's at the back.
Okay.
That's just covering the coolers,
Yeah,
right?
I can. Yeah, coolers.
No,
will
I
go
thought
away.
you were blocking it off completely, and then it was,
If you show from the top,
Try climbing hydrangea.
climbing hydrangea.
That ivy's gonna take over everything.
So
Yeah, there's
we're looking through this
Yeah.
to the back of it.
Yes, that is right to the back of the survey. Sorry.
Do you need enough?
So see how I drew those three squiggles? That's where it goes, essentially, right there.
The fence?
Those little bits of ivies, yeah, that's at
Yeah.
the back. So it's about
okay.
maybe 20 feet back.
Yeah.
This building's 30 feet, so maybe it's more like 25 feet.
Okay, and where are your solar
This is,
panels?
no, this is
They're
right,
on top of the parking lot.
it's
Okay.
called, yeah, on your way from Broad to Oak. Yeah.
They're on top, but you're gonna put a board,
Goes across here?
This
So you won't
That's
see
gonna
the-
go, right now, that's the alley, John,
Skirt.
right behind the Walters Deli Shop. So that would be
Right.
what you would see from Broad Street. Yeah.
So you
I'm
won't see
still
it.
skeptical, but I'm willing to try it.
The building, yeah.
Yeah,
They
that's
can
the
take it
building.
down.
This is with Beach Street?
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
it's south. That's what it looks like. So there's the ice cream shop there, and that's Walters. Anybody want to see the nice ivy monster we have right now? That's what it looks like.
No,
So
pergola.
that's a big. That's the
with
cooler John,
panels
my
drop
grandfather,
down
put in there.
inside.
I'm sure it wasn't. Before there was an HTC. Before there was an HTC.
You know, this year, Wade,
Yeah.
town, nobody's ever owned it.
Here and here. No, this is our
And
property
it's at a
here.
slight
But
tilt,
this
right?
is where it's
It's not
this
even-
way and this way. No one's ever owned it.
them
So it's like 1 inch.
Yeah, I
It's
think
in a butter's way.
there's slope
So like
that's
we
less
share
than
part of it with the young, and then this side we share.
we don't want
with,
it to
the
look
other
like
big
this.
shops.
I'm saying, when it says Wade,
Yeah,
I've had controversy with somebody on Lily Street,
yeah.
had a problem down there, you know, and it said Wade.
All righty. John, did you have anything to say?
He's not sitting on us.
We're going to
Oh,
take a
he's
vote.
not on it.
He's not on it.
Oh,
We like this.
Not on it.
you.
No.
You.
Wait a minute, it says solar panel.
I-
Where are the solar panels?
They're on top
I understand it, and I guess I'm willing to try it. I'm really nervous that you're still gonna see them.
Well, the panels are also frameless, so we're not gonna have, there's not gonna be like a lot of black metal, which is gonna be a big bonus of this application that we're doing. You're gonna be missing all of the metallic metal frames.
You guys are gonna be having that lip that you're gonna be concealing.
Yeah, if you flip to the middle page,
At all. It's flat.
if you look to the middle page, you know, it's.
I mean, yeah, okay, maybe if you wanna like, jump up and,
Oh, tippy toes.
and, try to find it.
These
you
are,
might be able
the
to
panels
find it.
themselves are about 1 inch thick.
Pretty good.
And so that edge of cedar, that 3 by 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 screens that edge.
It's gonna be on top.
And then so then this face here,
But it shows that they're sitting on top.
exactly. And so this view is to show you what they look like, but there's a, right here, you see 2 by 12, which rake, and so that covers the
I mean, compared to what it looks
can't
like
see
now,
that. Whereas these
it's definitely a
beams
big
are
improvement.
4 by 8s, so there's
Yes.
4 inches that covers the front.
We're
And then from
gonna
here, this
have our
is
engineer
actually
make sure.
gonna
that-
do that.
Yeah,
so-
we're,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
panels, as long as our pergola structure is able to handle the snow. Yeah.
Has everybody said?
Yeah, that's our next step.
Are the hedges coming out?
Run the structure out. I'm trying to get.
No, we're just
get
gonna
it
move,
approved
we're
first.
gonna move them to the front, John. They're gonna be right here. We're just gonna move that item. I don't wanna kill it. That thing's family heritage.
Front.
I have my
Yeah.
hammer.
That's not the front of the building.
Well, the
Do we
side.
have a motion?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion on the table
This
to approve as
Seven
submitted.
oh one, we didn't get to 7:05.
is around the corner.
Sugar.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're not on it.
You're not on it.
Oh, why didn't somebody tell me that?
You just told us.
Told you that.
You gotta speak up, I'm a little.
I-
I hope that this works out really well and it is a good example for future
If
installation.
it doesn't
If
work
it
out really
doesn't-
well, Tobias, we're gonna come down.
You're gonna make it look so good.
Us, you're not on it.
Do you-
We're trying to make it, it's a lot more money for us to do this way, but we're,
So
wanna make it work.
structurally, that span that's going across, you don't need another post, do you?
No, no.
Because I was just worried about that. Looks a
We
little
have
like a
a-
large span, but.
Another drink?
We have a motion on the table. So, all those in favor
Aye.
to
Aye.
approve as submitted?
I don't know if I need one there.
Okay,
That one is,
I don't know about that span, but I'm
Happy New Year.
Unanimous? That's great.
unanimous.
So I guess
I know.
do you just have to change the wording on here because it says an integrated roof system?
yeah, we
That,
can do
we
that.
submitted and, yeah, we can change whatever you want us to change.
Just get it.
So we should add, basically say,
Just go and
pergola
change the
ready.
application.
Okay,
To the-
we'll change it right now if John doesn't have if John has a moment.
It was a great solution. Who thought of that? Was it
I felt
Nick's?
like you guys did. Someone here
It was,
mentioned.
it was a lot of Ray, yeah. And
think it was-
but you guys
yeah.
came back with it. Ray
Yeah,
just kind
we've
of
been,
set
we've
you in
been
a
talking
direction.
about
and you
pergolas
guys
for a
did.
little while with some people too.
That was
So
a really smart.
something we've been kicking around for a little bit.
thank you very much.
We thought it'd be more cost effective.
Right, you tried.
I know, but you're in town, so
That
you have to be a little bit more.
That's it. May we continue to approve minutes?
Okay.
Oh,
You guys
sorry.
are
Thanks,
approved.
guys. You're done. Get out of
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Take care.
take some
Take
vitamin
care.
C.
Nice work.
Thank you. Thanks for sticking through it. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Everybody have a good New Year.
You too, happy.
And just make
Good-
sure
good
you
start
come
to
in and change that.
We have got approved minutes of December 12th and 14th. Right, Terry, that's what you want? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve? Johnny, we need a motion to
You're
approve
really out of line.
Minutes?
minutes between the December 12th and December 14th.
I have a question.
Yes?
I never got the 12th. I haven't seen them. So that's my only thing.
Okay, so,
They didn't get forwarded to you?
No, and because I needed them for that last application, and so I didn't have any. So I don't know if they're okay or not, but I don't.
let's approve December 14th.
Yeah,
Okay, you wanna, okay, wait a minute, do you wanna hold the 12?
Yep.
just so we can see them, because I didn't see them on the website.
And then, on other business, just to remind people that we have the organizational meeting coming up on January 30th. If anybody has any bright ideas they would like to discuss, can you email them to John so he has them? And we can have a lively little discussion, which is exterior architectural features, procedures for processing applications, and conduct of hearings.
Conduct, yes.
So, Madam Chair, this is, I suppose, some long overdue of housekeeping that's within the legislation, the HDC. These are a very rough beginning to writing these.
The July ones? Is that what you're talking about?
No, he's on what you just said, guidelines for.
Oh,
So I can pass these out. This is a very rough guide, as I said. So in, I believe it's section 8 of the legislation. I'll have to pull it up. Forget which
I
number.
thought that's when you got thrown out of the army.
It says that the HDC will publish rules and regulations or exterior or guidelines to exterior architectural features, procedures for processing applications, and conduct of hearings. And that is right in the legislation.
And so all these years, it's never been in there?
So this is
Recorded with the town clerk.
very long overdue, as in the beginning of the creation of HDC.
I think since
72?
I wanted to be able to,
Yeah, beyond this.
yeah.
Well, can we have a chance to read through it? And then-
Yeah.
This is,
He's just-
and I'll send you an email about this to bring it to your attention.
Right, this is
now.
just to
For us
give
to
you
read.
thought to read
For the organizational meeting, so we can
and make
address
things.
these.
Because sometimes I think this, if we have rules and regulations and they're always addressed as guidelines rather than rules, then a guideline is not a rule. And that maybe some things that you feel strongly about that ought to be a rule rather than just a guideline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's bigger than that, though. And I brought this up the last meeting, I'm gonna bring it up for the organizational meeting, is that we have an opportunity to take a look at, we have the old historic district, and then we have what was the rural area. And now the island has changed dramatically, and we have like little commercial zones in different areas, and little pockets of kind of formal architecture in other areas, and along the lines of what you're saying is that I think that it might benefit us not to do it all in one day, but to start the process where we're developing rules and regulations so that, for instance, downtown, you can come as an applicant and you can look at a catalog of 15 different doors that can be approved downtown. And you can pick a door. And if it's not one of those doors, it doesn't get approved. Chimney materials.
Right.
Different things like those could be part of our actual rules in terms of referencing those items that are approvable, so that John and the staff and the commissioners aren't sitting here and reviewing every single detail if we don't have to be.
Right.
It's kind of like the roofs in a way.
Very
What we're doing
fine
is,
line.
well, what we're doing is like with the roofs.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about, doors. If someone does a funky door 50, 100 years ago, and you look at it today, and it might have been out of place, out of line back then, and you look at it today, and that is one cool, funky door that makes that house what it is. So I would be careful with
It's all going to be
stereotyping it too much. You know?
reviewed, but there are so many things we lose hold of because it is a guideline rather than what should be. And I think if you want to know my feeling is that the island is under attack.
Yes.
And the planning board, forgive me, doesn't give a diddly poop about, other than what they're interested
Strong
in.
language, Diane, strong language.
And if we're going to protect the island, which we are told to do, that's what's in our thing, then we have to be able to do that. We can't always accept what the planning board comes up with spot zoning. Spot zoning is difficult for us because in the middle of an area that looks like so, you have an area that looks nothing like what this island looks like. We have to sort of go over the areas of the island and say this part of the island is old historic, this one is country, and this is what country should look like, so it sort of follows along with how we're told to do. That's what I would like to at least talk about, rather than have stuff comes up and we can't do anything. That's not protecting the island, and we're not going to have much left of the island if we don't stand up
No,
for it.
I agree, and it's a very good point. And as for Old Historic District, Ensconset, and even further outwards, I think it's very important. And then when you get to the other areas, if someone wants rafter tails on one house and someone wants shutters on the other, and they don't necessarily comply, but they're on the same street, I mean, there's a certain point where things get too boring and too.
Yeah, and that's,
Sure.
I don't mind that, but there ought to be more specified places for like commercial development. Because if you looked at the island now, from up there and down, and put the commercial areas against what hasn't been, destroyed, it's getting, that part of the island is getting smaller and smaller. We may have big vistas belonging to the Conservation Commission and all that jazz, but it isn't what we're dealing with on a road. And that we at least have to have, I think, should have the ability to look at.
May I, because I want to finish. So the concept, Jesse, was not necessarily like this is the only door you can use or to obviate the commission's responsibility or ability to make decisions. But looking back at the original guide, I mean, I got the 1967, there's 4 typical doors in here. That's it. I'm not suggesting we have only 10, but I am suggesting that we have a dialogue about it that involves public hearings in the community so we get the input in a general sense about what goes into either the guidebook or the regulations in terms of like a palette of things that are typical historic. And then the other part of it is, following up with the comment, because I agree with you, and that's what I was trying to say about the areas, is I think it's important that we start to have a dialogue about how those areas outside of town that are no longer rural are going to look. If you think about it, when was the last time the guidebook was done?
I'm not sure when any changes or anything. Its last publication, I believe, was 1993.
Okay, so if it was...
No, that was, sorry, got you off. I
No,
think
it's
that
all right.
was just the last
That was
publication, or 1995.
So it was actually probably not changed since what, 1990 something? Early 90s?
Earlier than that.
John, when was the last change to the guidebook?
Goodbye.
I was never here.
Nephew's shipping out tomorrow. I need to go say goodbye.
Okay.
Sorry.
This is important stuff.
That's right, we can,
I don't need
Yeah.
to.
No, it's okay. Go.
we're just,
90, no, the last printing was back probably 95.
When was I'm just curious, when the last, roughly, when was the last time the guidebook was changed? Roughly.
75 and 90, when they reprinted, they made a few changes.
Okay, so the point is just simply that it's been quite a long time since it was changed, and it will, after it's changed again, it will probably be quite a long time after that. And the amount of development we've seen since the last time is gonna continue. Buildings are gonna get built, but they're gonna change. And people are gonna repurpose the buildings. It's a tradition on Nantucket to be rebuilding and making changes to buildings. So I guess the point is simply that this is an opportunity to start the dialogue of discussion so that we, as the HCC and the community, can have input on how they want the island to look in different areas. And if we develop a guidebook that has different areas with slightly different or even dramatically different guides, that will determine the direction that the island goes. And I think that that's, whether we want to do that or not is something to discuss, and if we do, as a community, want to do it, then we need to do that discussion. However, I want to bring it back to what John originally brought up. What John brought up, and the reason I brought up about doors, was this is about architectural elements, and he actually provided something from New Orleans, Thanksville, where they did a pretty thorough investigative report on the historic structures and typical elements there. And that's where they derived a set of guidelines for particular architectural elements, like doors or chimneys or things along those lines, which could prove helpful for us too.
Very helpful, very helpful. And I think, you know, that would be, extremely helpful. To have 15 doors that we say, hey, these are good, I have no problem with that. If someone wants to put
A Dutch door, say.
a Dutch door on, or something which is out of line, but it might just somehow meet the criteria.
Well, that's why we take each individual application.
Right.
I mean, you can make guidelines and you can make rules, but we take each one individually and you look at everything around it, you look at the neighborhood, you look at the architecture, and sometimes it's appropriate to make an exception.
And the
That's why
landscape
we
is
have
one
to.
that actually is, I think, even more, let's say, new. Like, 10 years ago, we didn't even get HDC approval for the landscape. Now, we're being much more thorough on that. So that's actually the more modern stuff, I feel, is more of the ability to make a rule on, because it's not really a historical
Yeah, I think one of.
For the commission.
On
For
that,
the
on that
commissions,
point,
you know.
there's a trend that I've seen that, is that people are putting patios and things on the front of their house. So you're gonna start to go by and you're gonna start to see umbrellas and people sitting out on which you didn't historically see that. Everything was always, historically, it's been in the back.
Or a comment you've made in the past is that then they're hiding it behind landscaping, which actually becomes an architectural element because it's like a wall.
That's
and
a
you
very
lose this
important
sense,
part.
and you lose the sense of yard space downtown that all of a sudden it changed the whole nature of the streetscape. And I think that there is room to be discussing how landscape elements translate into architectural elements and whether those somehow go under the act at some point. And maybe not everywhere.
No.
And this is what, and this, I just want to tie this in, is that there may be different rules for different areas. Rural areas, does the HCC really care if you put a living wall of hedge or arborvitae up against your picket fence? Maybe not, but downtown, it makes a huge difference in the historic vista. So those are just, I think, when we get, look, I know we're all trying to run out the door, but this is like a wicked important thing, and it needs to be facilitated by, it needs to be professionally facilitated. It needs to be well thought out and then facilitated so that if we're going to do a real revision, we're doing it thoroughly and we're hitting, everyone's heard. It's not a matter of he talks more or she listens more or that person wasn't here. It has to be a serious event, in my mind.
If we really get down to it and whatever points of view, then I think what we pick up and put into the book needs to be professionally reviewed to make it as succinct as it can be and understandable by everybody. I don't know whether we could get somebody who would contribute their time, who is in this field, or not, but I think it's worth having it reviewed. I I think perhaps the legal end of it looks at things just legally, very cut and dry. No,
Yeah, the other thing we could do is form a group of people that would research it and start to work
Right.
on the project.
so it's not quite as cut and dry.
Yeah, so it's not just one person. I think
Yes.
it's important that it's
Yeah.
other people.
I have one short comment. Years back, town council made a few things for us. He says, number one, he says, you don't have any rules and regulations. The book is nothing but a guidebook. You can say, go to page 33, but if it's not what the guy exactly wants, you tell him, make a change on that drawing that's there. He said, get away from that. Make rules and permanent rules, regulations, voting clause. So we had a meeting, and we have a one-page rules and regulations ever voted by this board that I've been here. Only one page covers what we voted, rules and regulations. Everything else is under the guidebook. So that's what's killing us right now. They say, well, there's no rules and regulations. That's right, there aren't. We have got, that's what we gotta put in the book. In the old historic, you gotta make two areas. That's what you gotta do. Historic district area, what we have, and the outer town. And you gotta set up rules and regulations. You gotta take the individual things, like doors, windows, whatever's the exterior side. There's only 5 things that you have to check on the house, the judge told us from the court. He said, the foundation, sidewall, windows, roof, chimneys.
Doors. What is that?
And in a structure. So whatever you do to make the structure, guys, I want a metal building, because we're gonna, store cars, okay? All right? He comes in for a steel building, all right? It's not up to say whether he's in a commercial area or a residential area. We can't do that. We have no rules and regulations.
Yep.
That's what's killing us. Right now you got most of the contractors right now are screaming about to slow down the process. Everything is slowed this town down right now in the last 4 years, right over there, across the street, the next building, the planning board.
I
That's all
don't
I'm
think
saying,
it's
'cause-
beneficial to get into, they say this and we say that.
No.
We have a job, and whether we decide to do it a certain way, which is the way we've been doing it, and I'm only sitting on when somebody else isn't, but I was appointed to voice my opinion. We have a job to do, and the question is, how thoroughly do we want to be prepared to do it? And how thoroughly do we want to review each application?
Why
or
don't we
do
bring it up when Gray's back, because he's our chairman, and why don't we talk about it as part of the thing we're talking about?
Right, because we have the thing on the 30th, but that doesn't mean we can't carry stuff over
No.
to another time.
Yeah.
So that it may take longer time than
This
we
is a
could
good start, this thing that
put.
you
This
gave
is
us.
the good thing.
Well, so yeah, I just needed to bring it to the commission's attention as well as, it's kind of a cut and dry. We can get into, I think, at the organization will be talking more about, revising guidelines and things of that nature. I mean, at the top of the application, it states that it's strongly suggested that every applicant is familiar with the building standards in mind when they're applying. So, this is an official guideline or guidebook, I would say. It hasn't been adopted as far as I know by the HDC.
I don't know, you'd have to look back. I think it was adopted as a guideline.
Yeah, so I need to do a little more research into that, if it was adopted at some point and ever recorded, but the town clerk is being.
Dirk may be able to remember back, because it would have been he who.
Because in section 8 of the legislation, the commission shall make and publish rules and regulations adopting or establishing guidelines for exterior architectural features and establishing procedures for the processing of applications and conduct of hearings. So,
But I think over the years, we have grown more than, I mean,
right.
you could throw that through a computer and have them check it out.
Right.
That's, I think we have to state somewhere that what our
Right.
thing is.
Do you do this?
Yes, this is
Very
my,
good.
This is my.
You know,
this
it
is the
explains
beginning
something
of
that it used to be on the back of the application, how to do things.
Right, yeah.
And now you got too many independent things to do, to do the HDC, you gotta do that. You gotta think about the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, Building Department. You gotta know all this information so you make a right decision. So that's a good job. Good job.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, it may take us 6 months to get it, you know,
It might.
anywhere near having somebody look at it.
Just
but-
behave yourself.
I know it's just something that's.
I will.
Fox face, I'm watching you.
Not being published.
We have one more thing that you have
I
to
think
do.
you did, good,
What's
John.
that?
I think, John, your challenge is
What's
gonna be
that?
to keep us focused on the part that isn't
The
the
third item
rules
under other
of.
business.
Third item on the other
That's
business.
what we're
It
trying
really
to
needs
accomplish
to be
with this.
done
Huh?
So
tonight.
like even
What's
myself,
that?
I don't get distracted and go on to
Yeah.
the other stuff.
What's the third item?
You know what I mean?
Okay, there was a request. The owner of 34 Orange Street was very upset because a representative signed up for projects under her name, not her LLC, and now her name is plastered all over Google. Neither here nor there. So what we've been asked to do, and what we need to do is amend the approved minutes from July 25th, July 27th, and August 1st, 2017, changing all owner references for 34 Orange Street to 34 Orange LLC. And I need that motion. The motion would read, motion to amend previously adopted minutes for July 25th, 2017, July 27th, 2017, and August 1, 2017, changing all owner references for 34 Orange Street projects to 34 Orange LLC.
Did they change the application?
Aye.
They can't change the application and you can't change the agenda, but we
hold that
can
motion.
change the minutes. And that was my argument. We can't change those two items.
I don't know, my only concern would be that
There's
the minutes reference the application reference the applicant. If the applicant and the minutes don't jive, does that create a problem for us? I don't know, probably 9/10 of the time, probably
No,
does.
it doesn't. It doesn't
But legally,
really.
is it a problem? I don't know.
It's sort of silly. It's completely after the fact. Her name is already all over.
Do you want to say it for the camera?
I
I'm
just
teasing, I'm
did
teasing,
say it
I'm
for the
teasing,
camera.
I'm teasing.
Anyway, but I need someone to make that motion carry out. And
So
then I'll-
moved.
I abstain.
All those in favor of that motion?
Aye. Why wouldn't you wanna?
It could be a matter of, I would need to go back and check the application, make sure that it's correctly stated, the property owner.
It was signed up in
Sometimes
Orange.
unfortunately, when people sign up applications under the property owner's name, they'll sign the client's name instead of, the
Right, but
trust.
that's not our fault, that was the person who
Right.
wrote up the thing, so let them change it.
So,
But it sounds like you got an approval.
Oh, they did. They got approved.
No, I mean the vote. It sounds like you got a vote.
Yeah, I got 4-0 and you abstained.
I'd like to tell you the trouble with that. A few years back, everybody, if you had somebody representing you, no matter who, an architect, a designer, they had to sign approval that with their name on it, the owner signed, he can represent you. All of a sudden, everything disappeared.
Yeah.
They're not submitted anymore.
Guess when they stopped doing that?
Yeah, I had a long time.
When HTC,
3 years ago, 4 years ago.
when HTC saw
part of the
the
application,
when they stopped doing that. You used to make them do that.
Yeah.
They had